Chapter 678. On the other side, a telepathic message came. What's going on? They seen a note too? How did they know? You Don Tion. Can't you be more reliable? How can you tell such a secret to everyone? The king of Zwolu was anxious. If his identity was exposed, who would be able to bear the consequences if something happened? Yu Xiaoyu said, how would I know? Anyway, it wasn't me who said it. Maybe it was Nan Zhengxian. Yes, it should be Nan Zhengxian. When will you change your bad habit of pushing the blame? The king of Zwolu was so angry that he couldn't speak clearly. This was too serious. If the 3 grand shamans of the Umno Alliance knew, wouldn't that mean that all the higher-ups knew? All the higher-ups knew, but most of the higher-ups on his side didn't. How could he guarantee little brother's safety? What if something really happened? The king of Zwolu didn't dare to think about it anymore. He sent a telepathic message to Yu Xiaoyu. Investigate thoroughly, Yu Xiaoyu said. Anyway, it was either Nan Zhengxian or Wu Taijiang who spread the news. These 2 are the only suspects. Of course, it could also be you. Maybe you coveted uncle's assets. Fuck you. The king of Zwolu exploded. There were only a few people who knew about it. Other than you, everyone else was a suspect? You were the only one who was innocent? Also, not only did you try to push the blame, you even tried to slander others. A dog's bite was really deep. 6 new lots were made. Department head Ding was trembling with fear when he drew the lots. He was sweating profusely. As the saying went, the more you knew, the more inferior you felt. Minister Ding knew what happened when he drew the lots. He didn't know what had happened to those 2 people. They suddenly exploded with power right in front of him. Others might not know how powerful this technique was, but Minister Ding was well aware of it. At that moment, even space had been shattered in front of him. Fuck you. Just a tiny bit more, and I would have been smashed into smithereens. Now you want me to draw the lots again. You're not the ones who are going to be crushed, are you? Department head Ding tried his best to stop his legs from trembling. He mustered his courage and stretched out his hand to pull. There's no movement. The fact that there was no movement was a blessing. It was a blessing from heaven. Department head Ding quietly wiped his sweat and said, the drawing of lots for the first battle has been completed. First battle, Li Chenglong against Bu Yunxiao. Li Chenglong stood up. Xiao Duo patted him on the shoulder. Remember, Li Chenglong swept away his previous gloomy look and became confident. I remember. He rubbed his face and walked out. Behind him, Xiang Bing said nervously, Li Chenglong, you have to be careful. Li Chenglong turned around, and there was a clear bite mark on the left side of his face. He grinned. I won't lose. Then he walked out. His martial arts suit was whiter than snow, and his long sleeves were fluttering in the wind. He was like an immortal. As he walked out, Li Chenglong's temperament became more and more restrained with every step he took. When he reached the arena, he had completely changed into a refined and gentle gentleman. Swollen had gone through a lot of tempering and cultivation. His image was no longer as swollen as before. At most, he would only have the appearance of swollen after sparring with Xiao Duo. The rest of his life was mediocre, and there was no way for him to be swollen. The current Li Chenglong had a fair complexion and bright eyes. Although he couldn't be considered very handsome, his entire body exuded a calm aura. The first impression that people had of him was that he was gentle, elegant, graceful, and had a card up his sleeve. There is a phrase that could describe the current Li Chenglong: modest gentleman, gentle as jade. Of course, if there was no bite mark on his face, cough, that would be even better. On the opposite side, Li Chenglong's opponent, Bu Yunxiao, was already standing on the arena. As a true junior, although Bu Yunxiao was usually very arrogant and looked down on others, he did not dare to be impudent right now. Li Chenglong's body floated up. His entire person was like a gust of wind as he floated onto the arena. First he bowed to the 3 commanders, then he bowed to Minister Ding. His movements were very smooth, and there was an indescribable calmness. There was also an indescribable gentleness and gentleness. I am Li Chenglong. Li Chenglong bowed to his opponent and smiled. Brother Bu, it is an honor to meet you today. Bu Yunxiao was taken aback. Hello. It was the first time that Bu Yinxiao had met someone who was full of classical Chinese. For Bu Yinxiao, he was not used to it, but the other person's smile was very friendly. There was a feeling of being bathed in the spring breeze. Brother Bu has come from afar. The journey is dusty, the mountains are thousands of miles, and there are many dangers. Li Chenglong slowly said, "Now that you have come to Hidden Dragon, I have not yet done my duty as a host, and there will be a battle. Brother Bu, how about you rest for a while?" His voice was slow, like a lullaby. Although he had deepened his cultured and refined, scholarly general temperament, it still made everyone frown when they heard him. Was this little brat crazy? Why was he speaking so eloquently on the arena? Bu Yinxiao gave a dry laugh and said, "No need. Since you and I are destined to fight, why don't we end it early?" He had been influenced by Li Chenglong and had unknowingly become more refined. Moreover, he was very careful with his words. Li Chenglong gave a gentle smile. The teeth mark on the left side of his face trembled. He said elegantly, "Since it is like this, Brother Bu, please show me your heroic bearing. Let little brother admire Brother Bu's great skills." Bu Yinxiao looked at the teeth mark on the other's face. He could not help but tremble his left face. He said, "Please." Li Chenglong said elegantly, "Brother Bu, what weapon do you use?" Bu Yinxiao was taken aback. "I use a sword." Li Chenglong said, "What a coincidence. Little brother also uses a sword." Finished speaking, Li Chenglong turned his wrist. With a clang, the sealed dragon's sword came out of its sheath. A cold light flashed. This was Li Chenglong's first battle after obtaining the sealed dragon sword. Li Chenglong looked at the sword as if he was looking at his dream lover. He gently stroked it and gently said, "Brother Bu, this sword of mine is 3 feet and 3 inches long. It is made from the cold iron of the bottom of the sea, the soul of a meteorite, and the soul of a star's steel. This sword is called the Sealed Dragon Sword. It weighs 17 pounds and can cut through iron like mud. It can be said to be one of the best weapons in the world." Bu Yinxiao's heart became more and more confused. Could it be that when coming to the Hidden Dragon High Martial competition, one had to follow these rules? But right now, he was in someone else's territory. Even if he boasted that he was a dragon that crossed the river, he still had to give way to the local snake. While thinking, he drew his sword out of its scabbard and held it horizontally. He imitated Li Chenglong and said, "Brother Li, the sword in my hand is 1 meter long. It's made from." The name of the sword is Starlight. It weighs 13.5 pounds. It can cut gold and jade. It's also one of the sharpest weapons in the world. It's rare. Li Chenglong's face was filled with sincere appreciation. "Good sword." Bu Yinxiao could only follow and said with a serious face, "It is a good sword." Below the stage, countless students were confused. Even the leaders of the first, second, and fifth teams did not know what was going on. What the hell was this brat singing on stage? How could it be so awkward? Goosebumps were rising all over his body. The difference in reaction was that the leader of the first team side, the commander of the 3 armies on stage, showed a look of appreciation. This Li Chenglong is really sinister. As soon as he came up, he spoke softly and brought Bu Yinxiao into his own rhythm. Moreover, he came prepared. He accumulated his own aura to gain the upper hand. Bu Yinxiao obviously did not have this kind of preparation. Subconsciously, he was led by Li Chenglong. His heart is impetuous, and his expression is overflowing. He is indeed sinister and scheming. No wonder he is the military advisor of a generation. Not bad, not bad. This brat is really sinister. Little sinister bastard. Li Chenglong definitely would not have thought that the method he used to create his own appearance was to carry out the established plan. He wanted to create a gentle and elegant image. The result was that the military advisor of a generation had already been memorized by the 3 commanders. They judged this natural performance as a premeditated sinister move. It was really a pity. "Please, please." Li Chenglong took the lead and retreated. He held his sword and saluted. Bu Yinxiao followed suit and saluted with his sword. Immediately, 2 cold lights soared into the sky. The 2 had already begun to fight. As soon as they made their move, it was an extreme confrontation. They used all their strength. In just a moment, no one could see the figures on the stage. Only two cold lights could be seen rolling on the stage, intertwining with each other. Seeing the confrontation continue, Xiang Bing held her breath. She nervously looked at the stage, but in her heart, she was regretting that she had quarreled with Li Chenglong. This time, her image that was originally not so good was ruined by herself. And Li Chenglong's image that was originally not so good was also ruined by herself. She did not know whether or not what had just happened would affect his state of mind. Would it affect his performance? Judgment? For a moment, her heart was in a mess. So Xiaoduo on the side did not add insult to injury. He comforted her. Don't worry, Li Chenglong will definitely win. Xiangbing opened her eyes wide, saying, Really? Yes, it's true. So Xiaoduo sighed. When Swollen wins, there will definitely be more girls who like him. Last night, Li Chenglong was still discussing with me who was more good-looking. Sigh. He even said that he was the Iron Order's leader. Who doesn't know how fickle his heart is? Xiangbing bit her plump lips and looked at Xiaoduo with hatred. Sigh. We should really discipline him. Li Chenglong is really too much. He probably knows more girls than I have ever seen. Xiaoduo shook his head and sighed. When Xingtian flew over and forcefully twisted Xiaoduo's ear, he lifted his body up by 2 centimeters and then put him down. Then he stared at him. Xiaoduo was angry, but did not dare to say anything. He quickly changed his tone, but Swollen is just a flirtatious mouth. His heart is very loyal. Last time, I dreamed that he was called Ice Egg. Xiangbing's eyes lit up and her face turned red. Really? I heard it with my own ears. Xiaoduo pretended to be serious. We live together, but we don't sleep on the same bed. Why would I lie to you? Xiangbing blushed. I don't believe you. If you don't sleep together, how would you know what he said in his sleep? Chapter 679. Xiaoduo was stunned. Sister, you're focusing on the wrong thing. Are you saying that we should sleep together? Xiaoduo said, If you don't believe me, you can sleep with him tonight. You can go and see for yourself. Xiang Bingfei blushed and turned her head away, ignoring him. When Xingtian sighed as he listened. Bastard, I want to hit him. On the stage, the battle between the two was getting more and more intense. Li Chenglong had clashed with Bu Yunxiao's sword for more than 10 times. How could he not understand that Bu Yunxiao's foundation was really deep? It was actually on par with his. Judging from his swollen body, Bu Yunxiao was at the inner core level. He was at least a top genius who had suppressed his power 8 or even 9 times. What's more, he was an extreme genius who had suppressed his power 8 times before. Other than having a deep foundation and a high level of cultivation, he also had a lot of experience in fighting. His ability to predict changes in a battle was outstanding. He could be called the best of the best. Li Chenglong knew that he had met a strong opponent, so he could not help but concentrate on fighting. In this battle, both sides were evenly matched in the truest sense. Bu Yunxiao's sword style was grand and majestic, just like a teacher. There was no treachery, only a righteous aura. Li Chenglong was also fighting steadily. The current rhythm was probably in line with the plan he had originally set up. In terms of the battle situation, Li Chenglong had 40% of his offensive power and 60% of his defensive power. His defense was impenetrable. Bu Yunxiao, on the other hand, had used 60% of his offensive power. His attacks were like the Yangtze River or the pouring rain, continuous and unending, each wave higher than the last. The teachers of Hidden Dragon High School, including the principal and the vice principal, were all sweating. Fortunately, Li Chenglong had gone up, and not Xiang Chong. If Xiang Chong had gone up, he would have been defeated. When Xingtian, Yi Chongqing, and the others knew how deeply Chenglong's foundation was. To put it bluntly, although Li Chenglong was only at the peak of the inner core level, his real combat power was not inferior to the middle level of the nascent soul level, or even the high level of the nascent soul level. After a long time, when he got used to the opponent's level suppression, there was a possibility of him winning. But the opponent, a random teenager from the first team, was actually able to fight so fiercely with Li Chenglong. He even maintained a relatively strong offensive power, which was rare. There are so many geniuses in the world. Could it be that a great era is coming and talents will appear in large numbers? Enchanting sighed in his heart. He didn't know that although Hidden Dragon High School was extremely surprised, the first team, which was the Dao League, was so shocked that their jaws almost dropped. This Hidden Dragon High School student was actually so awesome. Bu Yinxiao, the teenager representing the Dao League this time, was not casually sent out. This kid was very talented, and his luck was very strong. He had a lot of fortuitous encounters. For example, he was accidentally looking for herbs and fell into the cave of a Demon King-level Star Beast. The Star Beast just happened to be out looking for food, and he actually came back safely. He even brought back the treasure that the Star Beast hid in the cave. Just this one incident alone was enough to show how extraordinary he was. How strong was his luck? What kind of fortuitous encounter? And indeed, this was not the only fortuitous encounter he had. Bu Yunxiao's elders once commented on this kid, saying, "This kid, if placed in a novel, this kind of encounter would definitely be the main character's template, the main character's treatment." This was simply the heaven and earth's favor, and nature's favor. You say, a person with such an outstanding appearance, with so many fortuitous encounters, could always turn misfortune into fortune. If he wasn't the main character, then what was he? Think about his name, Bu Yinxiao. It was full of artistic conception, temperament, depth, and height, and it was also full of style. This was the name of a main character. It was not inferior to Long Ao Yin, Zhao Di, and so on. It was even more imposing and more humane. Although Bu Yinxiao looked like he was only 17 or 18 years old, he was actually 22 years old. His combat power was based on the physique of a near-perfect astral souls, and he had many fortuitous encounters. He had also been cleansed by the elders of his sect, and he had been trained in many ways. At least in the sect he came from, he could be said to be invincible in the same level. There were also many nascent soul cultivators who had been defeated by him. He had even tied with several transformation cloud cultivators. No matter how one looked at it, he was the peerless genius of the Dao League's younger generation. This time, for the competition of the inner core realm, the leader of the Dao League did not even think about it and directly sent him out. Naturally, he wanted to win this round cleanly, so as not to ruin the prestige of the Dao League. In the heart of the leader of the Dao League, this round would be won in about 10 moves. Before the battle, he had even sent a message. In order to save the opponent's face, he could let the opponent withstand a few more moves. But who would have thought that a student representative casually sent out by the Hidden Dragon High Martial Arts School could actually fight with Bu Yunxiao until now? And he was not at a disadvantage at all. What made the leader of the Dao League even more shocked was that there seemed to be a funny bite mark on the kid's face. Did this mean something? Someone was fiercer than him? He actually bit him. Up until now, almost 100 moves had passed, but the opponent was still as vigorous as a dragon and ferocious as a tiger, calm and even a little graceful. This was simply like seeing a ghost. What the leader of the Dao League was worried about now was whether Bu Yunxiao had the possibility of being defeated. As long as he thought of the opponent, Li Chenglong, before the start of the battle, all kinds of etiquettes, and the way he led Bu Yunxiao by the nose, the leader of the Dao League faintly felt that something was wrong. Could it be that everything was within the kid's calculations and plans? Could it be that this kid was actually a rare talent in military strategy? How could there be such an all-rounder in the world? At the end of the battle, the sword chi began to fly out with a whoosh. This battle was really not short. Up until now, both of them had used up a lot of their physical strength and energy, and they were gradually unable to control their sword chi from leaking out. At this moment, everyone present was silent, including Commander Dongfang, Commander Shiman, and even the leaders of the 2nd and 5th teams. Those powerful people in disguise all looked serious and were especially concerned about this battle. Originally, how could a battle of the primordial core level enter their eyes? But now, the two people in the battle had already surpassed the level of the primordial core level, and they had surpassed it by too much. The most important thing was that these two people were really young, which showed that they were peerless geniuses. In the current situation where the sword chi tore the space, where the sword chi went, the the space faintly split, showed that the power of each sword was about to reach the level of the sword chi of the cloud transformation level. Peerless geniuses. Two peerless geniuses. Such peerless geniuses, no matter which one of them was lost, their forces would be heartbroken for a long time. Quite a good seedling. The red-haired man's eyes flickered. Indeed, not bad. Yu Xiaoyu's eyes focused. As for Commander Dongfang and the others, they were even more unable to take their eyes off him. They never thought that Li Chenglong, who was praised as a military strategist, actually had the potential to be a peerless expert. This was really a big surprise. Really good. This Li Chenglong is ours for sure, Commander Shiman murmured, as expected of the future military strategist of the Northern Army. Commander Beigong, Hao's eyes shone. Commander Dongfang smiled faintly and glanced at the two commanders from the corner of his eyes. Two dummies. With your intellect, you want to compete with me. Ha! On the arena, the two sword lights collided and shook. They became more and more crisscrossed and became fiercer and fiercer. They were like two bolts of lightning that suddenly went to the east and then to the west at the same time. They suddenly rushed up to the sky at the same time and then suddenly fell down. The sword lights were bright and dazzling, like the lights of the Lantern Festival, extremely bright. However, sword chi flew out one after another with a long tail. Clearly, these two people's control had reached the limit. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The frequency of the two swords clashing also gradually increased. Zhuo Xiaoduo held the sunflower seeds in his hand and calmly ate them one by one. He was one of the few people present who was not worried about this battle. He knew Li Chenglong too well, to the point that even Li Chenglong did not know him as well as he did, that Li Chenglong had been controlling the rhythm from the beginning to the end, whether it was the words, the battle, or the confrontation done until now. This fellow had not used his full strength, while his opponent was already using all his strength. Li Chenglong's most difficult phase was actually at the beginning. He, who had not fought against the Dao League's sword techniques, suddenly encountered the Dao League's most exquisite sword techniques, and it was difficult for him to deal with them. However, even though Li Chenglong was in a difficult situation, he still managed to stabilize himself, maintaining the strategy of using defense to attack and using defense to wait for an opportunity. At this point, he had completely adapted to it. Although his opponent's attack seemed to be as strong as before, it would not last long. The first spurt of energy would weaken the second, and the third spurt of energy would be exhausted. His opponent's attack had already passed the spurt of energy stage and was currently in a state of exhaustion. Once it reached the third spurt of energy, it would be Li Chenglong's time to counterattack. When Xingtian stood with his hands behind his back, with a smile on his face. How could this be? Li Chenglong had been under extreme pressure during this period of time. Whether he was fighting against himself or against Zhuo Xiaoduo, he had always been suppressed, and it was a bitter battle. Li Chenglong could at least hold on for more than 10 minutes in such a bitter battle, and his opponent would definitely not be able to continue attacking for such a long time. Now, I thought this guy was just waiting for the right time to ambush them. As expected, as the battle continued, Bu Yunxiao gradually became impatient. Suddenly, with a loud shout, he and his sword turned into a whirlwind. Rolling up from the ground, he soared into the sky. A magnificent sword mountain, sword light flew, like a rainbow piercing through the sun. Spinning, he rushed towards Li Chenglong. Li Chenglong smiled gently. Good sword technique. Looking for monthly votes, recommendation votes, and subscriptions. Let's comment and like each other, huh? Chapter 680. Li Chenglong's body movement became even more agile, as if he was floating around like a willow catkin. The sword in his hand was straight, as if there was no force at all. The opponent's sword attack was unprecedented, but Li Chenglong's sword was affected by the momentum and stuck to the opponent's sword, floating back and forth with the opponent's movement. Even the weight of his whole body was stuck to the opponent's sword, floating along with it. He calmly waited, waiting for Bu Yunxiao to exhaust himself, waiting for him to show a flaw. Even when Bu Yunxiao began to show a flaw, Li Chenglong ignored it, as if he did not see it. The opponent's breath was still stable, and the sword attack was not showing any signs of weakening. The so-called flaw was not a flaw, but a trap. Li Chenglong was tricked by his Xiao Duo every day, so he was very familiar with this kind of obvious trap. He did not even look. As time went by, Bu Yunxiao finally could not help but become impatient. Since he was a child, he had always been successful. Even if he encountered any danger, he would turn it into a blessing. At least, he had never met an opponent of the same level that he could not defeat. Even if he faced a nascent soul, he could still win. Even if he faced Hua Yunxiao, he could still fight. He had never encountered this kind of situation before. After a bitter battle of over 1,000 moves, they were actually evenly matched. Moreover, the other party's calm attitude made Bu Yunxiao feel more and more unpleasant to the eye. "You are so calm? I will not let you be calm." The long sword danced faster and faster, and his body movement became faster and faster. The starlight sword suddenly began to emit a little starlight. Li Chenglong's swordsmanship also changed, and his body movement also changed. He became more cautious and careful. The original 40% attack and 60% defense suddenly became 90% defense and 1% attack. The original counterattack suddenly shrank, and the opponent's sword chi took advantage of the situation. Like a storm, mixed with a little starlight that covered the sky and drowned the space around Li Chenglong in one fell swoop. Looking from afar, Bu Yunxiao's sword light was like a huge, bright ball of light, complete and round, emitting a dazzling brilliance, as if it had condensed into a substance. Xiang Bing exclaimed. Her eyes were filled with worry, and she seemed ready to make a move. It was obvious that the deaths of 10 people had left a shadow in Xiang Bing's heart. Her eyesight was limited, and she was worried and confused. It was impossible to distinguish the true strengths and weaknesses of both sides. Seeing that Li Chenglong was suddenly in danger, she actually wanted to help him. Even if Minister Ding had said before that only the winner and the loser would be determined, not the life and death, the current scene was too exciting, far more exciting than the previous 10 matches. How could Xiang Bing not have this thought? So Xiao Duo threw a pistachio into her mouth and said lazily, "Stop it and eat your pistachio." Swollen is getting more and more sinister. Xiang Bing subconsciously closed her mouth and crushed the pistachio with a crunch. Swollen was clearly waiting for an exhausted enemy and wanted to end this battle as soon as possible. Sure enough, under the barrage of attacks, Li Chenglong did not move at all. He was like an ancient reef. No matter how the wind blew and the rain hit him, he was still as steady as a mountain. Bu Yunxiao let out a loud shout and finally released the last breath of true yuan that he had never spat out under any circumstances. This kind of yuan qi was called life-saving true yuan. It was reserved for the last moment to escape. It was also called life yuan qi. But now Bu Yunxiao had completely activated this last bit of yuan qi, just for this victory. In a flash, Li Chenglong suddenly felt the pressure increase, almost to the point where he could not breathe. But in his heart, he was finally relieved. The opponent's trump card had been revealed. Bu Yunxiao used up the last bit of his yuan qi, and in one breath, he crazily attacked 300 times. The sound of the two swords clashing rang out, and sparks flew everywhere. With a long roar, Bu Yunxiao brazenly rushed into the sky, revealing his body. Then, with a loud bang, his long sword turned into a thunderbolt that fell from the sky. It crazily struck Li Chenglong's sword light that was protecting him. With a loud bang, waves of qi rolled out in all directions. This was the most intense and extreme collision. It was also Bu Yunxiao's decisive move, and he did not hold back at all. But in this attack, Li Chenglong also withstood it. After this collision, Bu Yunxiao's body used the momentum to bounce back and roll out. After such a long period of non-stop attacks, even if his yuan qi was as vast as the sea, it was extremely dense. But at this moment, it was almost depleted, and he needed to recover his qi. In Bu Yunxiao's view, after this round of fierce attacks, even if it was not enough to completely defeat the opponent, it was enough to make the opponent unable to stabilize his body. And at this time, it was the best time for him to recover his qi. But what Bu Yunxiao did not know was that Li Chenglong had to withstand this kind of pressure 300 to 500 times a day. For him, he had already gotten used to it. At least, he did not think it was strange. Bu Yunxiao's level of attack for Li Chenglong was not enough to be called pressure. With this collision, Bu Yunxiao rolled out, and his body quickly retreated, flying away. But on the other side, with a long roar, the sword light that came from Li Chenglong suddenly increased, and in the moment that Bu Yunxiao retreated, it turned into a shocking, flying swan. The sword light condensed into a point and suddenly exploded in the air. Then, the sword was like a dragon, and its momentum was unstoppable, unprecedentedly violent. Pung! Li Chenglong's sword fiercely chopped down on Bu Yunxiao's starlight sword. Bu Yunxiao was retreating, and he had no place to borrow strength. His dantian was empty, and he was in a state of near exhaustion. He was immediately pushed back 7 meters, and there was almost no gap between them. Li Chenglong once again arrived in front of him, and another sword. Dang, 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 point, 7 consecutive wild chops, 7 consecutive chases. The unprecedented sound of explosions did not stop. The last sword fiercely chopped down. Li Chenglong withdrew his sword and retreated. On the other side, Bu Yunxiao had already rolled out 70 to 80 meters and fell far below the arena. Li Chenglong's last few attacks were increasingly powerful and had truly turned Bu Yunxiao into an empty shell. The remaining yuan in his dantian had also been destroyed. Of course, he did not have any strength left and could only helplessly fall to the ground. He could not reverse his qi and return to the arena before he fell to the ground. His defeat was set, and there was nothing he could do. Li Chenglong confirmed this point, and then withdrew his sword. The moment his feet touched the ground, he had lost this battle, and he was standing outside the arena. But the people with discerning eyes understood that this was only a spar and not a battle of life and death. If it was a battle of life and death, then the 7 consecutive attacks would have been enough for Li Chenglong to poke thousands of holes in his body. If it was a battle of life and death, then the first sword of the 7 consecutive attacks would not have purposely targeted Bu Yunxiao's starlight sword. No matter if it was the throat, the heart, or the forehead, any of the vital points would have been fatal. The leader of the Dao League, Koff, the captain of the first team, was still in disbelief when Bu Yunxiao's feet touched the ground. He had lost just like that? Why wasn't there a great counterattack? Bu Yunxiao was the son of fate. Shouldn't there be an ultimate counterattack at the end of the road? Why was he so easily defeated? The first battle, Hidden Dragon High Marshal, Li Chenglong wins. Minister Ding solemnly announced. Although it was a fierce battle, Li Chenglong was still cultured and elegant. He held his sword and saluted. Thank you for letting me win. I am Li Chenglong, a student of Hidden Dragon High Marshal from Phoenix City's second high school. Yi Chanqing was shocked when he heard this. He suddenly remembered the information he had read. The old principal of Phoenix City's second high school, He Yuan Yue, had said before she died, "Children, in the future, if you have any achievements, don't forget Phoenix City's second high school." Li Chenglong was reporting to his old principal. Bu Yunxiao stood there in a daze. The moment his feet touched the ground, he realized that he was already standing outside the arena. He had lost. On the other hand, Chanchi was still standing towering on the combat arena, and he was still composed and composed. He was practically no different from when they just fought. He could not help but feel angry. He subconsciously said loudly, "Li Chenglong, are you the top student of Hidden Dragon High Marshal?" If this Li Chenglong was the #1 genius of the Hidden Dragon clan, then even if he lost, he would still be able to accept it in his heart. After all, during the entire process of the competition, he had the upper hand more often. Li Chenglong smiled. "Brother Bu, you flatter me. With my insignificant skills, how can I be the top student?" Bu Yunxiao shouted, "I don't believe you." Li Chenglong said with a serious face, "It's true." Bu Yunxiao's expression was palpitating with fear. He looked at Li Chenglong's serious face. Could it be that he was not lying? The leader of the first team said, "Yunxiao, come back." You did not lose this battle unjustly. The opponent's cultivation is deep, and his foundation is solid. He is also a rare genius. He sighed in his heart. If Bu Yunxiao had not been tricked and led by the nose, and fell into the opponent's rhythm, this battle might have been died, but then he smiled bitterly in his heart. The best result would have been a hold on for a few more minutes. Just by looking at the power of Li Chenglong's final counterattack, he knew that the opponent's foundation was not the least bit inferior to Bu Yunxiao's. It might even be better. And in terms of temperament, the opponent was much better than Bu Yunxiao's. No matter how you looked at it, the possibility of Bu Yunxiao winning this battle was not big. Bu Yunxiao was disappointed. He felt that the pride he had for a long time had completely disappeared at this moment. Li Chenglong's victory, the Hidden Dragon High School cheered like thunder. In the previous 10 battles, they had all lost miserably, and they were all killed on the spot. Even though most of the students had already realized that there must be some inside story that they did not know, but losing was still losing. It was an undeniable fact. Now, Li Chenglong had suppressed his opponent, and won in one fell swoop. They could finally let go of the stuffiness in their hearts. The cheers at this moment were particularly enthusiastic. There was a subtle feeling of being oppressed for a long time and finally being the master. Li Chenglong laughed. His body floated up, his white robe fluttering. He flew in the air and headed towards the seats of the first class. Zhuo Xiaoduo and the others who were opposite him could clearly see the clear teeth mark on the face of this pretentious guy. It was shining and eye-catching. Puff! Xiangbing could not help but laugh. Then her face began to turn red. In the future, when fighting, she could not bite his face. Chapter 681. Then, it was time to draw lots for the second battle. Hidden Dragon Expert, Xiang Chong, battle, Team 2 Yu Xiaoyu. Xiang Chong, who was tall and sturdy, excitedly carried the halberd on his shoulder and walked out of the crowd like an iron tower. He looked majestic and powerful, seeming to be even more powerful than Li Chenglong. Opposite, Yu Xiaoyu's interest was waning. Damn it, how'd I end up with this guy? What the fuck? I don't want to go up. The 3 captains of Team 5 shouted at the same time. Yu Xiaoyu, you go up. Damn it. Yu Xiaoyu stretched her long legs and said telepathically, You're Yu Xiaoyu, you go up. Behind her, someone said in shock, Boss, I'm Tai Xiaoyu. I just signed up as Tai Xiaoyu. Amidst the laughter of several people, Yu Xiaoyu stood up with a grimace and walked onto the stage with a miserable expression. I've lost a lot of face today. Today, he had lost so much face that it had reached a whole new level that I've lost a lot of face. On the other side, how could Xiang Chong know the true identity of the other party? With a schwa sound, the halberd in his hand danced, creating a beautiful flower. His voice was as loud as a bell. Hidden Dragon, Marshal Xiang Chong, please enlighten me. Come on. Yu Xiaoyu rushed up. This was really enlightening. Roar. Come on. Xiang Chong was awe-inspiring. Brandishing his overlord halberd, he looked like a lofty mountain. However, before he could use his overlord halberd, Yu Xiaoyu had already closed in on him in a daze. He didn't know what was going on, but he felt his body suddenly become light, and his burly body flew away like he was riding on clouds. His posture didn't change until he was standing a few dozen meters below the arena. He was still as imposing as before. However, the expression on his face had changed. He was completely dumbfounded. How did I get down? I'm not injured. Xiang Chong scratched his head and looked up at the arena. His heart was full of doubts and disbelief. Did I remember wrongly? I didn't go up, but the arena had already announced the result. Second battle, Team 2, Yu Xiaoyu wins. All the students were dumbfounded as they looked on in disbelief. How'd they fight this battle? They didn't understand. Why did Xiang Chong suddenly come down? The fight just now was very exciting. Although the details of the fight could not be seen clearly, the general situation could still be seen clearly. However, how could this fight end just like that? In everyone's impression, they only saw Xiang Chong going up to the stage aggressively and issuing a challenge with a soaring fighting spirit. He stood on the stage with a majestic aura, and then stood below the stage with a majestic aura. What the fuck that you Xiaoyu went back with a dark face. She received a hero's welcome from the captains of the 2nd and 5th captains. They all stood up and clapped their hands excitedly, cheering loudly. Ah, we won. Wahaha, awesome. Yu Xiaoyu's face turned even darker. She felt that her stomach was going to explode in the next moment. She said angrily, "Let's start the next battle. It's your turn." On the other side, Xiang Chong went back with his face covered in dust. This time, he had lost so inexplicably that even when Xing Tian did not know what to make of it. The cultivation level that his opponent had displayed was only at the origin core realm. There was no doubt about this, but how could he have lost so inexplicably? Something is wrong. When Xing Tian only had this thought, he was very confident in his student. Even if Xiang Chong had a fight against Xiao Duo, it would be hard for him to avoid defeat, but he would not lose so quickly and in such an unbelievable manner. Also, when Xing Tian didn't believe that in this world, there would be a cultivator at the same level as Zhuo Xiaoduo. On the other hand, Zhuo Xiaoduo's face was filled with caution. He couldn't understand the actions of Xiang Chong's opponent at all. He couldn't see his aura and couldn't see his fate. What the hell was this? So far, the only possibility that he couldn't see his fate was that his opponent's cultivation was too high. But how could a mere origin core realm cultivator do that? As for the fact that he couldn't detect any trace of it with his aura gaze, that was freaking unbelievable. There was actually someone who could hide his fate? Of course, there was always someone better. There were too many experts in this world. There are too many experts that surpassed Zhuo Xiaoduo's knowledge. The heaven, earth, sun, moon, and star realm cultivators were like that. But that wouldn't existence at that level be so shameless as to pretend to be a junior and play around with Xiang Chong? This kind of thing was completely incomprehensible. It was beyond his knowledge. So Xiaoduo naturally didn't know that the other party's real purpose of hiding his identity was to beat him up. Not getting the chance to beat up Xiaoduo made Yu Xiaoyu extremely depressed. How could she be in the mood to mess around with Xiang Chong? Naturally, she would end this battle as soon as possible. Third battle, Hidden Dragon High, Zhuo Xiaoduo. Team 5, Bing Xiao Bing. Department head Ding rolled his eyes. Today, they were messing with the Xiao generation. Every one of them was a junior. The names of the contestants from the Hidden Dragon High Martial School were all high-end and impressive. Unfortunately, they had all lost their lives in the hands of the younger generation. Wait, do you think that the more outstanding the name, the less likely it is to win today? Take that Bu Yunxiao, for example. He should have had a main character name. Didn't he also lose? In this battle, the contestant from the Hidden Dragon High was Xiaoduo. Two juniors actually bumped into each other. Who knew if it would be worth watching? Department head Ding sighed and looked towards the opposite side. This Bing Xiao Bing. Don't you have a conscience for giving him such a name? Over there. Ha 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 ha. With a long laugh, Bing Lil Bing stood up impatiently and walked towards the stage in a hurry. In a flash, he was standing on the stage. Obviously, he had been looking forward to this battle for a long time. Marshal Dongfang and the other two did the same action. They used their fingers to rub their eyebrows. Damn it, I'm convinced. These old things are all shameless now. They really don't have a bottom line anymore. When Xing Tian looked at Zhuo Xiaoduo, who had already stood up but was still standing at the same spot, his expression was extremely strange. He couldn't help but ask curiously, "Go. Why are you dawdling?" Xiaoduo cried miserably. "Teacher One, can I admit defeat? This, I most likely can't win. I know in my heart. I'll be beaten up if I go up. Admit defeat." Hearing this reply, when Xing Tian was furious, "I was counting on you to give me face. Admit defeat? What are you thinking? What are you thinking? Go quickly." So Xiaoduo stood up and walked out with a miserable face. "I'm dead this time. Damn it. Why is there another thing like this? I can't see his aura. I can't see his face. I have experience. I can't beat this kind of existence no matter what." He remembered the strategy he discussed with Li Chenglong. Keep a low profile. Don't be reckless. Stay calm. Damn it. How can I be reckless? What should I do? I'm waiting online. It's quite urgent. Knowing that you can't win and will be beaten up, you still insist on going up. That's not bravery. It's not courageousness, it's stupidity, it's idiocy. Why can't you understand such a simple principle, Teacher Wen? No, I must make a note of this in my notebook. If I'm beaten up and have mental problems, I must ask for compensation from Teacher Wen. Xiaoduo walked out slowly. On the stage, Bing Xiaobing laughed. Xiaoduo, after so many rounds, only our names have a Xiao in them. We are quite fated. Bing Xiaobing was so excited. I've got him. Haha. Godson, godson. I'll teach you a lesson on behalf of your godson. Wahaha. Xiaoduo was speechless. I didn't want to be fated with an old monster like you who likes to pretend to be young. Whoever wants this fate can have it. I don't care about it. But now, whether he stuck his head out or retracted his head, he would still be stabbed. He might as well end it quickly. So Xiaoduo made up his mind. In a flash, he was already on the stage. After all, it's just a friendly match. Yi Chongqing, Lu Yichuan, Cheng Gaiying, and the others looked at him with confidence and smiles on their faces. With this brat taking action, he would definitely be able to win this round cleanly. Below, in the second team, the young couple in white and the young man in green, the three of them secretly raised their cultivation. If this bastard dared to attack on the stage, the three of them would immediately attack. However, with the opponent's strength, killing Xiaoduo was just a matter of thought. Would they be able to make it in time? On the stage, General Dongfang and the others had also received the message. They looked at each other and raised their cultivation, ready to fight. Fuck! The situation is on the verge of going out of control. With the three of us holding the line, the situation can still go out of control. What the fuck is this? Bing Xiaobing, is this your real name? Xiaoduo was not in the mood to pretend to be gentle. He didn't know how miserable it would be later. He'd better lower his position and get off the stage later. But this guy in front of him, why does he feel that his cultivation is similar to mine? He even looks a little weak. There's no evidence that he's a super expert, but the moment Xiaoduo looked at him, he felt from the bottom of his heart that this guy in front of him was like a huge mountain, an unshakable mountain. It was the kind of mountain that reached the ground and reached the sky. It was a magnificent mountain. Yes, I'm Bing Xiaobing, and you're Xiaoduo. Bing Xiaobing shrugged and said happily, I've heard that there's a Xiaoduo in the Hidden Dragon High School. He's handsome, good-tempered, kind, smart, polite, and has amazing talent. His cultivation is also good. I've always wanted to get to know you. Today, I finally get to meet you. So Xiaoduo was delighted by the praise. You're flattering me. You really live up to your reputation. Bing Xiaobing said kindly, you're really talented. I like you very much. I'm very happy. Ha ha. A string of laughter. He was really happy. So Xiaoduo returned the favor and praised, Xiaobing, you're also very good. You're handsome, but your body is a little thin. Remember to eat more meat in the future. You're too thin, just like a girl. It'll be difficult to find a wife in the future. People will think that your kidneys are weak. Bing Xiaobing was speechless. I've been praising you for so long, and this is all you give me. Chapter 682. Below, Yu Xiaoyu from the second team almost spat out the breath he was holding. On the other side, the couple with the surname Lai and the other person laughed out loud. Bing Xiaobing's smile did not diminish. Student Zhua, I really want to be friends with you. How about this? Let's exchange contact information. After the battle, I'll treat you to a meal. How about that? Xiaoduo was even more surprised. He carefully sensed that this kid did not seem to have any hostility or malice. Instead, he felt a sense of sincerity that came from the bottom of his heart. As he thought about it, he said in a low voice, Okay, my number is. Bing Xiaobing transmitted a number. Xiaoduo took out his 99 Astral Souls phone and stood on the stage. He recorded the number and dialed it. This is my number. Now, why did you turn off your phone? Bing Xiaobing coughed and said, Before the battle, especially when facing a strong opponent, of course I have to turn off my phone. It's okay. When the battle is over, I'll turn it on and contact you. Okay, Xiaoduo said seriously. Let me formally introduce myself. My name is Xiaoduo. I am a first-year student of the Hidden Dragon Martial School. I am at the Inner Core Realm. Thanks to the love of my fellow students, They have given me a nickname, Iron Fist Prince. I'm really ashamed, was what Xiaoduo said. I only have a little bit of my own understanding of the fist technique. Bing Xiaobing's mouth twitched. I'm Bing Xiaobing, an ordinary disciple from a nameless sect. I was lucky enough to reach the inner core realm. Thanks to my classmates' love, they gave me a nickname, Iron Fist Floating on Water. He explained seriously, it's just that I have some understanding of fist techniques and footwork. Both of them had an I believe you expression on their faces. They bowed at the same time. Please enlighten me. Please enlighten me. Please. Please. On and off the stage, countless people held their foreheads and did not want to speak. Many people even felt that it was worth it to experience such a day in my life. These two guys, one was better at acting than the other. Iron Fist Prince, Iron Fist Floating on Water. What kind of lousy names are these? Who would believe your nonsense? They wouldn't even know how they died. The white-robed young man sighed. Holding back his laughter, he sent a voice transmission to his wife. I think I saw Master. The girl beside him nodded slightly and replied telepathically, such a serious way of talking nonsense is really a result of genetics. It's natural and not something that can be achieved through practice. On the stage, Zhou Xiaoduo saluted and slowly retreated 10 meters. With 1 foot in front and 1 foot behind, he stretched out his hands and slowly clenched them into fists. Starting from the tip of his fingers were curled up to the second knuckle. His fingertips could no longer be seen. He said seriously, when we practice martial arts here, there's an old saying, rolling fist is like rolling a pancake. It is like rolling layer by layer to form a solid core. If his fist was hollow, he would hurt himself instead. If his fist was solid, it would be as heavy as a mountain. Invincible. Opposite. Bing Xiaobing saluted and also retreated 10 meters. He squatted down slightly and put his palms together. His white palms and fingers were put together without any gaps. He said seriously, when we practice palm techniques, the key is to put your palms together like a knife. Although it is a palm technique, a straight stab is a sword, a diagonal slash is a knife. A frontal attack can be a hammer or an axe. When practiced to the extreme, it can be unstoppable. There is nothing it can't break. Good palm technique. Good fist technique. Please. Please. Zhou Xiaoduo yelled. Watch my fierce tiger descending the mountain fist. With this yell, his body disappeared in a flash. When he reappeared, he was already on top of Bing Xiaobing's head and gave him a kick. On the other side, Bing Xiaobing also jumped out. Watch my fierce tiger descending the mountain fist. Similarly, he used one of his legs to meet it. With a loud boom, the two legs collided with each other without any fanciful tricks. Then, both of them screamed and retreated. You cheated. You lied. All the onlookers were speechless. The two of them had been bragging about their fists and palms for a long time. When the battle started, they were still shouting about their fists and palms. In the end, they were both using their legs. This level of shamelessness was really the same. Each had their own merits. However, the layman was just there for the show, while the experts were there for the skill. This collision shocked Marshal Dongfang, the captains of Team 2 and Team 5, as well as everyone in the audience. The two legs collided and a huge force was released. Both of their bodies were shaken at the same time. Zhou Xiaoduo's body was like a whirlwind that sent him flying 5 steps. On the other hand, Bing Xiaobing was sent flying a full 8 steps. Damn! The young man in white and Yu Xiaoyu blurted out. They looked at each other and saw the disbelief in each other's eyes. Fuck! On the other side, Captain Lai and his wife of the 5th team and the other young man were shocked. Their eyeballs almost flew out. How? How is this possible? In this collision, Bing Xiaobing was at a disadvantage? What the fuck? Did the sun rise from the west? Even if they were merciful, even if they suppressed their cultivation to the limit, this shouldn't happen, right? On the stage, Bing Xiaobing's face was red. Fuck, I'm going to embarrass myself today. How could this kid's foundation be so solid? How is this possible? Zhou Xiaoduo waved his fists and rushed up again. He shouted, Bing Xiaobing, watch my earth-shattering fist. Bing Xiaobing was not to be outdone. He shouted, "Watch my universe palm." Like a whirlwind, a group of figures fell from the sky, and there was another loud bang. It was the legs again. Both of their legs collided fiercely for the second time. On and off the stage, countless people lowered their heads. They really couldn't watch anymore. It was too confusing. One shouted for a fist, the other shouted for a palm. But it was still the legs that collided. If these two guys didn't shout, this battle would be completely normal. It would even be very intense and amazing. However, when they combined it with their mouths, it was extremely uncomfortable to watch. It was more exciting than watching a farce. At this moment, below the stage, Yu Xiaoyu's gaze was completely frozen. If Bing Xiaobing retreated 3 steps in the first collision because he was not prepared and lost face, then this collision would definitely bring him back. Even if he didn't get back his face, he would at least feel a little comforted. This was something that everyone could guess. If they were in his shoes, they would have done the same. However, the result of this collision was still Bing Xiaobing retreating a lot. Compared to the previous collision, he retreated 2 more steps. In this collision, Zhou Xiaoduo retreated 4 steps, 1 step less than the previous collision. However, Bing Xiaobing retreated 9 steps. His face was already a little red. Bing Xiaobing felt that he was fucked. This was not according to the script. Fuck, the scriptwriter was done, the director, the props, and the lighting were all in place, but the actor on the other side changed the script up below the stage. Yu Xiaoyu's heart was filled with disbelief. She even thought that there was something wrong with her eyes. She muttered, "This little bastard's foundation is actually more solid than the deep ice witch. How'd he do it? How? How is this possible?" The Heavenly King of the Left and Heavenly King of the Left were also shocked to the point of speechlessness as they knew what was going on. Bing Xiaobing, who was fighting on the stage now, was the Deep Ice Witch, one of the 12 great witches of the Umno Alliance. For super mighty people like them, suppressing one's realm to compete in martial arts was not a matter of fairness. It was an extremely unfair matter. The most direct example was a cloud transformation realm practitioner fighting with an embryonic breathing realm practitioner. He kept saying that he would suppress his own cultivation to the embryonic breathing realm to fight with him in a fair fight. This sentence seemed to have nothing wrong with it, but it was actually full of nonsense. What did he mean by not bullying? Every realm had its own comprehension of that realm. Every year had its own experience. This was a completely different concept, especially for a super mighty person like the Deep Ice Witch suppressing his own cultivation to the Origin Elixir realm. How could an ordinary Origin Elixir realm practitioner compare to him? The combat power that he could unleash without mentioning anything else would at least surpass the power of the Deep Ice Witch when he was in the Origin Elixir realm. It was even stronger by more than a level, more than twice. Such a super mighty person suppressing his cultivation to fight could be said to be invincible among those of the same realm. But it could also be said to be able to slay the nascent soul transformation realm and destroy the cloud transformation realm. He was definitely an extraordinary existence. Originally, everyone was worried that the Deep Ice Witch would destroy Zhou Xiaoduo on a whim. Everyone was very nervous. But now it seemed like a miracle had happened. The one who was being suppressed was the Ice Deep Witch. The left and right Heavenly King's heart was almost flying. It was even more so for Yu Xiaoyu. After a moment of shock, she rejoiced. That was close. If the Deep Ice Witch had not been luckier than her, she would have been the one fighting Zhou Xiaoduo now. She would have been the one making a fool of herself. Deep Ice Witch, you're a good person. No, you should be a good witch. I really have to thank your 8 generations of ancestors. Marshal Dongfang and the rest on the stage also stared with their eyes wide open. Yi Chongqing and the rest of the people from Hidden Dragon High School did not know who was fighting with Zhou Xiaoduo. But how could Marshal Dongfang and the rest not know? Everyone had come together from the Starlight Mountain Range. That was the Deep Ice Witch. The Deep Ice Witch, one of the 12 great witches who had dominated the astral souls for countless years. She suppressed her cultivation to fight on the stage and try to bully others, but she was bullied by a child instead. TSK, TSK, TSK. This was the biggest news in thousands of years. Super big news. Who is this child? Why is he so powerful? The three marshals immediately asked Lu Ichuan to check the information. Zhuo Xiaoduo, 18 years old. The three marshals looked at the information in their hands and looked up at the fight on the stage. Everyone was surprised. This is going to be a good show. Everyone's hearts were filled with schadenfreude. Oh, I see hell, what? We would love to see you get beaten up. Bang, bang, banged on the stage. The two people circled around like whirlwinds, constantly raising their legs and kicking. Of course, the iron fists and iron palms were also colliding with each other, the deep ice which was about to collapse. I can't lose face like this. Since I retreated a few steps in a head-on clash, I must get it back in a head-on clash. Otherwise, how am I supposed to continue living? I'm a great witch. I have a high status that I can't be beaten up. I came up here to beat people up. Therefore, Bing Xiaobing continued to attack, head-on, and risking his life. So Xiaoduo was exactly what he wanted. Fighting head-on. Hee. I'm most afraid of old monsters like you playing tricks with me. Now that you want to compete with me in strength, aren't you falling into my trap? Bing Xiaobing, I like you. So Xiaoduo was overjoyed. On one hand, he did his best to retort, and on the other hand, he shouted in high spirits. Chapter 683. Ha ha, this is what I like. Zhuo Xiaoduo fought to his heart's content, colliding with each other excitedly. Their bodies collided again and again, making Zhuo Xiaoduo feel like he was about to climax. Cool. Too cool. Little guy, you want to play hard with me? You want to collide with my left leg? I'm harder than you. You want to collide with my right leg? I'm harder than you. You want to collide with my middle? Cough, cough, it didn't collide with this one. On the stage, two figures flew about. The two were like two oxen, colliding with each other with a bang, then retreating. Then, they both charged forward at the same time. With a bang, they collided again, retreating again, charging again, and colliding again. The two's legs were like two iron poles, flying up, colliding, flying, colliding, flying. They collided more than 100 times. Fuck. Bing Xiaobing had an impulse to curse. After a series of collisions, Bing Xiaobing was extremely depressed. She realized that she might not be able to win. At least in terms of strength, she was not able to win. This little bastard is simply a freak. He wants to go to the heavens. I can't win. Bing Xiaobing was sure that if it was an origin core realm cultivator who collided with this little bastard, their legs would have been broken. Luckily, she had suppressed her cultivation and her body was sturdy. The only consolation was that he had a solid foundation and rich experience. Every time he was pushed back, his body would sway slightly, and he would be able to neutralize a lot of the impact. But the other party was limited by his age and experience. It was obvious that he had not comprehended such a battle technique. For example, he could make use of the friction between himself and the air while retreating to minimize the damage to himself. And this was something that Zhuo Xiaoduo could not comprehend at his current level of cultivation. As for stopping while retreating, turning the friction between her body and the air to create a thrust. There was no need to mention it. Even if she knew such a technique existed, it was not something that an origin core realm cultivator could use. But even so, the little bastard's shocking attacks continued to come crashing down with greater force each time. The dark ice, which was starting to doubt her life. Is there something wrong with the direction of my cultivation? Is there something wrong with my perception? What I've shown now is already the highest level of power that a primal core realm cultivator can display. I've even secretly added something. It could be said that if a martial artist could cultivate to the level that I'm displaying right now in the inner core realm, then he could completely jump realms and fight a transcendent cloud expert head-on. They could even easily defeat ordinary cloud transformation realm cultivators. But now this kid on the opposite side was simply out of his league, way out of his league. After hundreds of collisions in a row, the deep ice, which had to admit in dismay that this guy's foundation was so deep that it was incomprehensible and unimaginable. On the other side was what Xiaoduo, who had met an opponent who could fight him head-on for the first time, was getting more and more excited. He threw punches and kicks at Zhuo Xiaoduo, fighting to his heart's content and making his blood boil. Ever since I stepped onto the path of cultivation, there's never been anyone at the same level who could fight me head-on like this. I have to cherish and grasp this opportunity. If I miss this chance, I don't know when I'll be able to encounter it again. I'll smash you to death. The more he fought, the happier Xiaoduo became. Towards the end of the battle, his aura was rising, and the flaming sun manual was unleashed in an unprecedentedly vigorous manner. Boom! After another collision, Bing Xiaobing was sent flying another 7 meters. And this time, Xiaoduo's feet did not move at all. The sudden eruption of the flaming sun manual almost caused Bing Xiaobing to fly out of the arena. Wiping the cold sweat off his forehead, Bing Xiaobing's body strangely floated up into the air. He shouted, "Fist techniques are indeed not bad. Come, let's compete with weapons." As he said that, he took out a transparent weapon. It was a very strange-looking curved blade. Below, Yu Xiaoyu whistled shrilly as she flew up into the sky, echoing through the clouds. Bing Xiaobing's face turned red. How could he not know the meaning of this whistle? You can't beat me with your fists and kicks, so you have to use weapons. You, the deep ice witch, are really too promising. Bing Xiaobing was ashamed, but at the same time, he was furious. He really wanted to shout, "What are you whistling for? If you can do it, then do it. Who doesn't know who you are? I don't want to be so shameful either, but what can I do when I meet a pervert?" He ignored the laughter below. Bing Xiaobing pretended not to hear it and held the blade in his hand tightly. That strange weapon, which seemed to be transparent, was the ice blade. The famous weapon of the deep ice witch, the ice blade. But now, it was not in its original shape. This blade was made from the soul of a million-year-old mysterious ice. When this blade appeared, it was followed by a bone-chilling cold wind. This blade had already merged with the deep ice witch and could change according to the deep ice witch's thoughts. When the blade appeared, heaven and earth were shocked. The sun and moon lost their light, and the universe lost its color. Visible to the naked eye, the arena was covered with a layer of frost. In the blink of an eye, the frost turned into ice, and the ground was as smooth as a mirror. Cold air blew against his face, chilling him to the bone and penetrating his heart. At this moment, even Yi Changqing and the others frowned. This kind of strength, this kind of power, no matter how they looked at it, it did not seem like an inner core cultivator. That what kind of old monster was this in disguise? To be able to fight with our geniuses like this and not be at a disadvantage. This old monster is pretty awesome. Yi Changqing looked at Marshal Dongfang and the others worriedly. When he saw that the three of them did not show any signs of worry, he slowly relaxed. With the appearance of the ice blade, the entire field instantly entered the coldest atmosphere. The coldness quietly attacked everyone. So Xiaoduo, who was opposite Bing Xiaobing, suddenly stopped. Seeing such a shocking change, he was not shocked but happy. He laughed loudly. "Bing Xiaobing, this blade is not bad. What is it called?" "This blade is called Cold Blade." The deep ice, which naturally could not say the two words ice blade. Ice blade was equivalent to deep ice. If he said it, wouldn't it be exposing his identity? Cold blade, not a bad name. What material is it made of? Xiaoduo was obviously very interested. His fiery aura soared into the sky, and the cold air around him turned into a steaming mist, rolling and rising into the air. Bing Xiaobing laughed. "This blade is made from thousands of years of ice spirit essence. Why, student Zhua is interested." So Xiaoduo rolled his eyes and said, "Actually, what I want to say is there's no point in us fighting like this. Why don't we make a bet? Let's bet on the outcome of this battle. What do you think?" Bing Xiaobing almost laughed out loud. "You little brat, you think you can win just because you are stronger than me? What a joke. When I use my ice blade, other than Boss's 1,000 spirit hammer, no one can break it. Since you want to bet, there should be something at stake, right?" Bing Xiaobing said with interest. Seeing the ice blade, Xiaoduo first thought of Xiaoyan. "If I win, you'll give me this ice spirit essence. How about it?" This ice spirit essence was too suitable for Nian Nian Cat. With such a temptation in front of him, Xiaoduo could not help but be tempted. No matter what, he had to get a piece. If not, humph, no problem. Bing Xiaobing squinted his eyes and said lightly, "But if you lose, what price do you have to pay? What do you have to bet that is comparable to my ice spirit essence? My ice spirit essence is not something ordinary." Below the stage, Yu Xiaoyu let out another whistle that carried a different meaning, soaring into the sky. The meaning was even more obvious. Think about your status as a senior ice witch. If you win against a junior, it would be a joke. Now that you can't win with your fists, you have even taken out the weapon that you have carried with you for countless years. You have already lost face. How can you have the face to ask a junior for a bet? Bing Xiaobing turned a deaf ear. So what if I don't want face? Anyway, I'm not the one who suggested this bet. But Xiaoduo did not know the reason. He scratched his head and began to count the things he had. After a while, he said, "If I lose, I will give you a Demon King's inner core. How about that?" Demon King's inner core? Bing Xiaobing almost laughed out loud. What kind of bullshit is that? Bing Xiaobing smiled and explained, "My ice soul is said to be the ice soul essence of thousands of years, but that's just a description. In reality, it's the first batch of ice soul essence that has been turned into ice since the beginning of time. This ice soul essence, whether it's used to make weapons or to merge with weapons, can continuously improve the quality of the weapons. Furthermore, this ice soul essence has its own spirituality. It can communicate with its owner and change its shape at will. What's more, if the weapon wielder also cultivates the ice attribute cultivation method, with the help of the ice spirit, the cultivation speed will be several times faster than normal cultivation state. The ice spirit essence also has a special attribute. I have mentioned before that this ice spirit essence has its own consciousness. It can swallow all the ice attribute essence that it can see to grow and become more powerful. On the other hand, as it continues to swallow the ice attribute essence, it will also provide cultivation conditions for its master. At any time, as long as there is still heaven and earth in this world, the ice spirit essence will not die. Once it recognizes a master, it will be loyal to its master. Even if its master dies, the ice spirit essence will not recognize anyone else as its master. Instead, when its heart is broken, it will turn into ice and sleep forever. He. He smiled faintly and meaningfully. Zhuoxiao's face turned red, although the other party did not say it clearly. But he could tell that this Demon King's inner core was nothing compared to the ice spirit essence. "But this is the most valuable thing I have now." Bing Xiaobing rolled his eyes and said, "How about this? Today's battle between the two of us can be considered as a match for each other, and it was especially satisfying. So, I sincerely want to be friends with you. What do you think?" Bing Xiaobing smiled mischievously. "If you lose, just write a few words for me and sign your name. Please vote." Chapter 684. Just a few words? Zhuoxiaoduo was shocked. Could it be that my calligraphy skills have reached such a level that even ghosts and gods would cry? Someone is willing to take out such a rare treasure just to bet on a few words that I casually wrote? He said proudly, "No problem." Bing Xiaobing said sinisterly, "However, you have to write whatever I want you to write. If you go back on your words, you will be abandoned by both heaven and earth." Zhuoxiaoduo thought about it carefully. He felt that the other party's conditions were too lenient. It was as if the other party had other motives and was even willing to use the ice spirit as a bet. The main purpose was to write a few words. However, it was just a few words. What could it be? This was a bet that was raised in front of everyone. What else can you ask me to do that would betray my conscience? Moreover, writing is just writing. It doesn't mean that I have to use what I write to do. What am I afraid of? What am I thinking? Why should I think about what will happen if I lose? I clearly had the upper hand in the fight just now. How can I lose? I will definitely win. Even if this guy takes my words and spreads it around, I'm not afraid. So Xiaoduo made up his mind. If I lose and his demands are too much, I will change my name immediately after I finish writing. From then on, I will not be called Zhuoxiaoduo. I will be called Zhuoxiaoyu. Zhuoxiaoduo made up his mind. He had to win today. He had to do his best to win. This thing was too important to Nian Mao. It had spirituality and could recognize its master. It could be used to forge weapons or merge with weapons. It could also change according to its master's wishes. That this was a strange treasure that he had never heard of before. Moreover, once the ice spirit recognized its master, it would be loyal to him for life. It could even grow on its own. This was one of the best things in the world. If I can't win, I will not be called Zwishaoduo. I will be called Zwishaoyu. Zwishaoduo's eyes lit up. He couldn't help but stick out his tongue and lick the corner of his mouth. But can you make the decision for such a good thing? Zwishaoduo thought about it carefully. He considered the possibility of failure before thinking about victory, and went straight to the core of the problem. If the ice spirit was really as good as the other party said, it should be a divine object. Even if the other party had the item, the teacher behind the other party wouldn't be unaware of the value of this item. If they were to interfere at that time, everything would be in an uncertain state. Naturally, I can make the decision. Bing Xiaobing said proudly, "This ice soul does not belong to my sect. I obtained it by chance, and it completely belongs to me." When I first discovered it, the two ice souls were in the midst of a fierce battle, each trying to steal the other's spiritual energy to strengthen themselves. I separated the two ice souls that were on the brink of death and collected one of them. However, the other one refused to acknowledge me as its master. Because the ice spirits are also irreconcilable, and it is difficult for them to coexist. As long as one ice soul recognizes a person as its master, that person will never be able to gain the favor of the second ice soul. Bing Xiaobing said, "Therefore, this item is not very useful to me." Zwishaoduo's heart was itching to hear this. "Good item, this is really good. This Bing Xiaobing is simply the child of fortune who came to give me a treasure." "All right then." Zwishaoduo gritted his teeth. "I'll bet on it. For the sake of this ice soul, I have to win no matter what." This was a good item that directly affected Nyin Yin Cat's lifelong achievement. If he lost, if this guy wanted him to write something unsightly, he could take the initiative to write something like Zwishaoduo is a puppy. That would be enough to humiliate him, right? He would gladly sign it, and he wouldn't even have to change his name. "It's a deal. It's a deal," Zwishaoduo solemnly promised. Below the stage, the Lai Hua couple and Dan Kong had already gathered together with the left and right heavenly kings. The six of them whispered to each other, "Who will win?" If it weren't for the battle, just now, everyone would think that the Ice Netherwitch would win without any suspense or difficulty. But now, even the Lai Hua Witch, who knew the Ice Netherwitch's abilities well, had no confidence. Yu Xiaoyu, ahem, actually Yu Dantian, also had an ambiguous look on his face at this moment. He had made up his mind and discussed it with the king of Zwilu. If this little bastard lost because of greed, the Ice Netherwitch would definitely ask him to write something unfavorable to Uncle Zwa. At that time, the two of them would risk their lives to get it back. Sneak attack, assassination, and sneak attack. Anyway, they would use all kinds of methods, no matter what. This note definitely couldn't be taken out. But now, it was really hard to say who would win and who would lose. Just now, Zwishaoduo had already gained the upper hand in the fight. This was something that everyone could see with their own eyes. But when it came to weapons, the result was very hard to say. The six peerless masters of the world gathered together, but no one dared to say anything about the result that should have been obvious at a glance. And no one dared to make a judgment. Yu Dantian rolled his eyes and said, "Lai Hua, the situation has come to this point and can't change much. Why don't we also have a bet?" The Lai Hua Witch blocked his wife with vigilance. "First of all, I don't bet on my wife." Yu Dantian almost laughed out loud. "What do you want to bet?" The Lai Hua Witch's wife was very excited. Last time she lost to the Lai Hua, she had been looking for a chance to win back. Now, this opportunity was really rare. "I bet on Zwishaoduo to win." Yu Dantian said, "How about we bet on the profits from the Starlight Mountain Range?" The Lai Hua Witch coughed and said, "How much do you want to bet?" "Just 5% of the final profit?" Yu Dantian was not sure, so he could only take out 5% of the final profit that he could make the decision to bet. This time, the Dao Alliance and the three families will divide the space ruins equally. Each family will get 3/3. Astral Souls will get 3/4 as the landlord. The 1% won't be counted for the time being. It will still be March 3rd. Udontion said, if Shauduo wins in the end, after the distribution is completed, your Umno Alliance can only take away February 8th, and our astral souls can take away March 9th. On the contrary, if Bing Ming wins, you take away 3/8, and we only keep 2/9 of the final profit. The Lai Hua which rolled his eyes, looking at his wife and then at Dan Kongwich. The three of them exchanged glances with each other and reached a consensus in an instant. The Lai Hua which said flatly, no, no. Udontion was stunned. You don't dare to bet on this? Have you lost confidence in Bing Ming Hua Witch? This bet is too little. It's boring. The Lai Hua Witch looked arrogant. What's the point of betting 5%? If you want to bet, then bet 10%. If they bet 10% of the final profit at once, the result would be completely different. If one family took 3/3, then 10% would become 2/3, and the family that took more would jump to 4/3. The difference was quite big, almost several times. This time, Udontion couldn't make the decision. He could make the decision for 5%. If he lost, then so be it. At most, he would leave empty-handed this time. But if he lost 10% of the profit, he was afraid that he would be beaten into a salted fish by Emperor Zhaixing and be hung at the door. So Udontion transmitted his voice to the king of Zwolu. Zwolu, do you want to bet or not? You have the final say. The king of Zwolu was speechless. You might as well change your name. You will be called the Heavenly King of Schweigwa. Damn it. If I say I don't want to bet, you will turn around and complain to Master's wife that I don't trust her son. Moreover, this was Shauduo won in the end, and I said I don't want to bet today. Udontion, this bastard, would blame me for the rest of my life. But the result of the bet might not be good. If I win, everyone will be happy. But Udontion was the initiator of this bet, so all the extra benefits would be his. The benefits I get are very limited. If I lose, not only will my 5% of the profit go down the drain, but I will also be blamed. Udontion will even shift the blame, saying that I strongly advocated the bet, and so on. This is the result I can imagine. Besides, this is difficult. Seeing that the king of Zwolu didn't answer for a long time, Udontion asked again. Hurry up and make a decision. This matter is waiting for you to stake everything. The king of Zwolu wanted to curse. Damn it, that the longer this bastard lived, the more proficient he became at shifting the blame. He was simply shifting the blame all the time, anytime, anywhere. He started the matter himself, and then pushed the blame to others. Then it was as if he had nothing to do with it. On the other side, the Inferno which began to feel proud. You don't dare to bet, right? I knew you wouldn't dare to bet. Bet. The king of Zwolu quickly gritted his teeth and said, Fine. You can't go back on your word. The Inferno, which was full of conceit. We, the Umno Alliance, have never done things like going back on our word. But you guys, going back on your word is almost a common occurrence. I'm a little worried about betting with you guys, so I have to make a heavenly oath. Let's do it. Udontion immediately became energized. He agreed first, and then took the lead to make the oath. The king of Zwolu's wife fiercely pinched the king of Zwolu. Why do you always do this kind of thing? Didn't you just swear that you will never do anything with Udontion in the future? How many days has it been? Your internal injury hasn't healed, and you have already forgotten? The king of Zwolu expressed in an unusually sad manner. I'm also very helpless. If Shauduo lost, this guy would definitely shift the blame to me. I can even imagine what he would say. At that time, I said that the bet was just for fun, but the Inferno which insisted on betting 10%. I didn't dare to make the decision, so I discussed with Zwolu, and Zwolu agreed to bet 10%. Then I bet. Who would have thought that I would lose? Listen, is there anything wrong with this? It's completely the truth, okay? But according to his tone, it wasn't like that at all. Udontion didn't have any responsibility at all. Zwolu was the scapegoat. But if Shauduo won, he won an extra 10% of the resources back. Udontion would definitely say, at that time, I said that I would bet 5%, but the Inferno, which insisted on betting 10%. But out of caution, I still discussed with Zwolu first, and then agreed. In the end, I really won. Ha ha, great. This was also the truth, a fact that couldn't be refuted at all, right? It was still the kind of words that the king of Zwolu couldn't find any reason to refute, even if he wanted to. But this kind of result, at least 80% of the credit, was Yu Dongtian. This was Yu Dongtian's art of language. Chapter 685. The heavenly king of the left road, who had been thinking about this matter over and over again, felt a wave of depression in his stomach. I am really unlucky in this life. I know this bastard, but I can't get rid of him. What the fuck? Which incense stick had his ancestors offered to him in the wrong way? I have been tricked since I was young. When I was young, he was the one who caused trouble, and I got beaten up. When I grew up, he was the one who caused trouble, and I took the blame. Sometimes, I don't even know why I am the one who is the scapegoat. Every time after Master beat me up, he would beat me up again when he heard that I was the one who took the blame. The previous beating was a mistake. You don't remember this beating, but who did I offend? I have been the scapegoat for so many times in my life. The king of Zwolu sighed when he thought about his life. Junior brother, you have to grow up quickly. When you grow up, you can deal with Yu Dongtian. You can partner with Yu Dongtian. You could be the king of Zwolu. I am physically and mentally exhausted. I can't continue anymore that I don't want to deal with him in this life. Below the stage, the bet was quickly settled. All the oaths to the heavenly Tao were completed. Lai Hua and the others sat back down and immediately sent a message to the Ice Hell Witch. Brother, don't lose. We just made a big deal. The Ice Hell Witch on the stage was dumbfounded. I made a bet on the stage, and you guys actually made a bet below the stage. Do you have to join the fun like this? Damn it, why do I feel like I'm a monkey that's being toyed with? I am jumping on the stage, and you guys are making a bet below that. Damn it, I fought so hard to get this chance to fight, but the result is like this. On and off the stage, the bet was set. So Xiaoduo slowly stepped back. The battle intent in his eyes rose like never before. How can I not know that this guy is actually a hidden big shot? Do you really think I'm stupid? However, you suppressed your cultivation to the level of the inner core realm. Even if you were a big shot, you could forget about winning against me. If it doesn't work, I'll use my trump card. Originally, Xiaoduo did not want to use his trump card. If he could not win, he could just admit defeat. It was not shameful. Besides, I, Xiaoduo, am not afraid of being embarrassed. However, Xiaoduo instantly made a decision after learning about the Ice Soul. This Ice Soul essence, I must win it. He had to win. He had to win. He couldn't lose. He absolutely could not lose. Then on the opposite side, the great ice, which had transformed into Bing Xiaobing, also slowly calmed down. Her eyes and heart were full of awe-inspiring fighting spirit. He couldn't lose. This time, he really couldn't lose. If it was just a battle between the two of them, then it wouldn't matter. Anyway, there was no point in keeping the Ice Soul, and the other members of the Umno Alliance didn't have a suitable physique to bear it. After so many years, the Ice Spirit was on the verge of death. Even if it was given to Xiaoduo, it wouldn't matter. In any case, this kid only had the Scorching Sun physique, so he wouldn't be able to use it. Anyway, he already had an Ice Soul that had grown to its peak. The rest would be difficult to catch his eye. If he gave it to him, then so be it. But now, the situation had changed. The stakes had also changed. It had become 10% of the final profit of a new space relic. This made the great Ice Witch's heart tremble. Raging Flame, you really dare to play. Last time, you lost your wife. Did you forget? You still don't change and still want to gamble? And you still want to gamble with me. Do you know how big this space relic is? I'm not very sure now, but if this space relic is big, very big, then the 10% of the resources inside might be enough to change the situation of the continent. Putting so many things on my shoulders, only you, Raging Flame, can think of this. If I lose it, and lose it to a junior in a head-on fight, then I, the great Ice Witch, will truly be immortal in the Umno Alliance from now on. Raging Flame will definitely push the blame to me. This guy might even complain about me, saying that I went easy on him in the battle. That bastard. I can't lose. I can't lose. I'd better think about it first. If I lose, how to push the blame. This kid looks like he's going crazy that the Ice Soul turned into a scimitar hissing and trembling in the air. In the space in front of it, ice flowers slowly bloomed one after another. The ice soul had a spirit, although it was suppressed by the great ice, which it instinctively felt that this battle was very important. Also, the scorching aura coming from the person opposite him was really annoying. This kind of hot thing was annoying to death. Fight! Fight! The ice soul howled spontaneously, and countless ice flowers formed bit by bit, spiraling and dancing. The layer of ice under their feet became thicker and thicker, harder and harder. The chill also became heavier and heavier as time passed. Even great Marshal Dongfang and the others began to circulate their energy to resist. On the opposite side, Zhuo Xiaoduo's body was fiery red and was not affected by the surrounding cold environment at all. Countless amounts of water vapor evaporated and boiled. For safety's sake, he was still using the first layer of the Flaming Sun Sutra, Great Sun Flaming Sun. He left the second layer as a backup, that with a flip of his hand, Zhuo Xiaoduo pulled out his sword. It was a light and thin sword, but it was like a pool of autumn water in his hand. This sword is called Spiritual Cat. Zhuo Xiaoduo looked pretentious. It weighs 8 ounces and is as thin as paper. It can cut iron like mud. It's the sharpest weapon in the world. Bing Ming's mouth twitched. I've already introduced my scimitar, and you still have this trick up your sleeve. Besides, it's just an inanimate object. It doesn't even have a spirit. What are you showing off for? But at this moment, he could only say against his will, "Good sword." Zhuo Xiaoduo stroked the sword in his hand and sighed. Brother Bing, this sword is my favorite in my life. It's also the essence of my life's cultivation. Bing Ming snorted. Aren't you Iron Fist Prince? How dare this guy call me Brother Bing? Is your seniority enough? Zhuo Xiaoduo was displeased. He said, Brother Bing, you're wrong. A Jianghu name is a Jianghu name. You call yourself Iron Palm, but you fought me with your legs for half a day. Now you take out your scimitar. What do you say? Zhuo Xiaoduo was displeased. He said angrily, You're all sneaky. You specialize in shady business. Tell me, if I believed you just now, wouldn't I have suffered a great loss? That's not fair and square. Humph. Under the stage, the king of Zhuolu sent a message to Yu Dongtian. This guy's character is as good as yours. It's rare. Yu Dongtian felt insulted. He couldn't help but feel uncomfortable. He sent a message to the king of Zhuolu. That's the shamelessness of your sex disciples. What does it have to do with me? Huh. The king of Zhuolu turned his head to talk to his wife and ignored the king of Zhuolu. The king of Zhuolu was indignant. He cursed, This is slander. How can I be so shameless? Suddenly, his voice stopped abruptly. The king of Zhuolu was so shocked that he broke out in a cold sweat. Fortunately, Zhuolu was stupid. If it were him, he would definitely blackmail him. He said that my master's disciples are shameless. I'm going to tell him. Just you wait. Then, he would ask for whatever he wanted. It would be absolutely successful. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but glance at the king of Zhuolu. He despised him in his heart. This silly guy. He didn't even react when such a good thing came to him. Despise him. The ice nether witch on the stage was obviously shocked by Zhuo Xiaoduo's shameless words. With his identity, even if he had disguised himself, he wouldn't argue with Zhuo Xiaoduo. It was so childish that he would argue with him. After a while, he said in a low voice, Let's do it. Zhuo Xiaoduo rolled his eyes and said discontentedly, You've just been exposed, and now you're going to fight. Such a person. TSK, TSK, tisk. The ice nether witch was so angry that he laughed. Holding his saber, he thought, I'm not afraid of you stalling for time. My ice spirit has been setting up an ice field. The longer you delay, the more you'll suffer. Finally, Zhuo Xiaoduo felt that it was about time. His Flaming Sun Sutra had reached the point of overflowing. He held his sword in one hand and waved it casually. The long sword slashed open a crack in the space, and he shouted, Come. Under everyone's gazes, a strange scene suddenly appeared on the arena. It was breathtaking and soul-stirring. On the stage, all that could be seen was a silvery white, freezing the world and freezing the space. Only the place where Zhuo Xiaoduo was standing was steaming hot. As Zhuo Xiaoduo exhaled, his whole body suddenly took a step forward. With this step, the first layer of the Flaming Sun Sutra, the Flaming Sun, was unleashed to its limits. It was as if a gigantic sun, emitting boundless heat, had suddenly appeared in a world of ice and snow, majestically emerging. An indescribable, unparalleled heat burst out with a loud bang. Extreme cold and extreme heat, two extremely opposite attributes, brazenly collided together. For a moment, a mushroom-like cloud of fog appeared. Like a huge explosion, it surged upwards and rushed to the top of the arena. Then, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, and the sound of thunder rumbled incessantly. The battle between the two had actually created an artificial weather phenomenon. After a moment, a magnificent rainbow fell on the stage and did not dissipate for a long time. Under the sunlight, it was extremely dazzling and moving. It was like a dream, mesmerizing the eyes of the people. Countless students exclaimed in surprise, "So beautiful! Too beautiful!" Under the cover of this rainbow, the two people on the stage, one holding a sword and the other holding a saber, collided together like two whirlwinds. One was like an iceberg tide, the other was like a blazing sun in the sky. As the two continued to fight, the rolling fog continued to grow and rise more and more violently. Gradually, a thick layer of clouds formed above the stage. It was so thick that it could not dissipate in time. As the thick cheese shrouded the stage for a long time, it gradually became a spectacle. It was a spectacle that made people gasp in amazement. It was just that tens of meters above the stage, under the clouds, was a curved rainbow. Under the rainbow, the two people went back and forth, each with their own style. Both of them used extremely fast movement techniques. Saber light flashed, and sword chi crisscrossed. It was an extreme battle that did not hold back. With the use of weapons, Zhou Xiaoduo's previous advantages were suddenly not enough. Chapter 686. The Icy Hell, which was fully focused on the battle. It had been a long time since he was this serious. But now, he really could not afford to lose. Whether it was reputation or resources, the Icy Hell, which could not afford to lose. He could not afford to be the scapegoat. He still strictly controlled his cultivation to the peak of the inner core realm. He did not dare to go beyond that. At this time, he had to be careful. He could not afford to be caught, because there was an extremely shameless person below. As long as he used power that exceeded the inner core realm, that person would immediately go up and judge him as the loser. At that time, that person would be able to take away 10% of the UMNO Alliance's resources. If that happened, the Icy Hell, which felt that he might as well buy a piece of tofu and knock his head on it. If he was really defeated, it did not matter. What could he do if he was not strong enough? But if he lost, the Icy Hell, which felt that he could be kicked around like a shuttlecock by the others for a year. Therefore, this kind of mistake must be avoided. But even at the inner core realm, he and the saber in his hand were still one. There was no barrier between them. I am the saber, and the saber is me. He did not even need to move. Just by controlling it with his spiritual will, the ice saber could move at will and perform the best changes. It could unleash extreme power that others could not unleash. Ice and snow floated in the air. The sky was cold, and the ground was frozen. The ice spirit roared back and forth, crazily attacking. So Xiaoduo on the opposite side, the starlight under his feet was extremely bright. But after a while, he changed his footwork and became invisible. There was no other reason. He had only taken 2 or 3 steps with the Starry Sky steps before it was broken by this Icy Hell Witch. Moreover, the saber light was chasing after his lower body like maggots. He almost suffered a great loss and was defeated on the spot. Damn, I was scared to death. The Kunlun Taoist sect cultivation method was not good. At this thought, Zhou Xiaoduo, who was originally itching to move, did not dare to move. If he went out, he would be chopped off. That would be terrible. Zhou Xiaoduo saw that the situation was not good. He immediately changed to a set of footwork that his father had taught him. According to his father, this kind of footwork was called heterodox sect. The biggest feature of this set of footwork was that every step was out of the ordinary person's expectations. When linked together, it was seamless and there were no flaws to be exploited. This set of footwork could be said to be the most difficult set of secret lightness skills that Father Zwa had given to the siblings. However, after mastering this set of footwork, its great effect was so strong that it made Zwa speechless. For example, if Zwa were to defeat an opponent, you would need more than 10 moves if you were to go all out. However, if he used this set of footwork together with his weapon, he could kill his opponent in one move. Yes, this set of footwork is characterized by the element of surprise and surprise. In a battle, the priority is to kill the enemy. If you force yourself to hold back, it will instead create flaws. Therefore, it should not be used lightly unless it is an important battle. Once he made his move, it would be a fatal blow. Another shortcoming of this set of footwork is that it requires an extremely large amount of spiritual energy to support it. After all, every step of this set of footwork is walking in the void and will never touch the ground. It is reasonable that it requires a large amount of spiritual energy. The saber light flashed, and Zwa was already enveloped in it. However, Zwa body flashed in and out of the saber light with strange and unpredictable footwork. He moved left and right, up and down. His footwork was so strange that it made the ice netherwitch frown. This set of footwork, why does it look so much like that person's footwork? But this kid's cultivation shouldn't be able to master this set of footwork. Bing Xiaobing snorted in his heart. When he fought with that person, he was kicked in the groin and sent flying back after 200 moves. The footwork at that time seemed to be a bit similar to the set that Zwa was using now. However, once that person's footwork was used, even the space around him would follow his movements. It was beyond time and space. But now Zwa was using it. Although the power was a bit weaker, in terms of movement, it seemed to be more perfect. Even a person with a low cultivation like Zwa could use such an extraordinary footwork. That old bastard still surprises me. I don't know if he spared no effort to change his footwork to a low-level one for his son, or if he improved his footwork to a higher level and further improved his footwork. No matter what the result is, he is a fucking egg. Bing Xiaobing cursed in his heart. Dang, dang, dang. The ice spirit in his hand made a sharp whistling sound, and waves of cold air covered the sky. Annoying guy, I'll freeze you to death. I'll freeze you to death. I'll freeze you to death. But the opponent was like the sun in the sky, standing still. The sword in his hand was rolling like a river. The body heat was endless. Facing the cold attack of the ice spirit, he was indifferent. It was a pity that Zwa swordsmanship was gradually restrained by the ice spirit's perfect combination of man and saber. Bit by bit, he was at a disadvantage, and it was getting harder and harder for him to use it. No matter how miraculous, unpredictable the unorthodox footwork was, it still needed to be combined with abundant spiritual power and vital energy to be used. Even though Zwa foundation was deep and far superior to that of an ordinary inner core cultivator, there was still a limit. When his vital energy was depleted to a certain extent, it would be difficult for him to maintain his footwork. At that time, he would be defeated, and now, Zwa swordsmanship was only ordinary. How could it compare to the ice spirit's ever-changing moves? Below the stage, the left and right heavenly kings and the marshals on the stage all had ugly expressions. With their eyesight, how could they not see the mystery in it? Was he going to lose? With a long whistle, Zwa shouted, "Watch my misty spring rain sword." Suddenly, the sword light changed, and a leisurely artistic conception rushed out, instantly changing the aura of the arena. Everyone felt that a misty rain had suddenly appeared on the arena. It was like the drizzle of spring, lingering and faintly discernible, but it was everywhere and everywhere. Unknowingly, it had already refreshed people's hearts. Countless students looked at the misty rain, and their hearts seemed to soften. They thought that this kind of rain was the most suitable for bringing a girlfriend. To the quiet river, to the small path of the weeping willows, to walk quietly for a while. The sword light was like raindrops, falling down densely, everywhere. Accompanied by Zhou Xiaoduo's long voice, the rippling light of the water is good. The emptiness of the mountains and the rain is also wonderful. If a spiritual cat is compared to a fairy, it's always appropriate to wear heavy makeup. The voice was ethereal, and it was really pretentious. The people who heard it couldn't help but sigh. This kind of rain, such artistic conception, such a good poem, really complemented each other. They didn't expect Zhou Xiaoduo to be a literary master, a talent, a poet. This kid was actually an all-rounder. This was really too unexpected. Why did the heavens love this kid so much? However, those who were more literate also noticed that the third sentence was slightly weird and was not on the same level as the other three sentences. It would be better if it could be changed to another sentence and the ice spirit on the opposite side was almost cursing. Plagiarism. Blatant plagiarism. This was clearly the boss's rain sword. It's fine that you changed the name to Misty Spring Rain Sword, but you even added a poem to it. It seems like you're a master of both poetry and sword, complementing each other. This is blatant plagiarism. Too shameless. And this rain sword, Misty Spring Rain Sword was used and immediately turned the situation around. However, when Zhou Xiaoduo used this sword technique for the second time, one of the moves was broken by Bing Ming. It forcefully broke through the defense and slashed down with unparalleled momentum. Zhou Xiaoduo moved again, and with a swishing sound, one of his trousers was cut open by the sword. Fortunately, it didn't hurt his skin. However, the trousers had turned into bell-bottoms, which added a bit of romantic charm. The rain and fog rose again, and the raindrops in the middle were shining, falling in all directions. Once they touched the raindrops, they would disappear, but the shining raindrops were endless. "Look at my precious spring rain," Zhou Xiaoduo recited. "The light rain on the heavenly street is moist, and the color of the grass can be seen from afar, but not near. It is the best spring of the year, and definitely surpasses the willows in the imperial city. What a damn good poem." Bing Xiaobing praised. This was clearly the boss's rain sword. This kid had changed his name and plagiarized it again. Moreover, it was paired with a poem, and it just so happened that it matched so well. It was simply a perfect match, and it couldn't be any more perfect. With this poem and sword technique, even if the boss himself stood out and said that he was the creator of this sword technique, no one would believe him. A poem and a set of swordsmanship were a perfect match for each other. You, the Great Witch, are too shameless? You actually said that this sword technique was created by you? Write a poem for me to see. Damn it, this kid really worked hard and painstakingly to distance himself from the boss of the flood. It's rare for you to have such literary talent. Fuck your father. Well, this fuck your father made me feel twice as good. The ice spirit witch's heart was filled with hatred, and the speed of her attacks increased again. On the stage, the marshals all had satisfied looks on their faces. Good poem. It's really a good poem. I didn't expect to be able to enjoy watching a martial arts competition. Principal Yi, this Zhou Xiaoduo's literary talent is really good. Your school pays attention to both civil and martial arts and teaches students well. Yi Changqing was dumbfounded. When did Hidden Dragon High School pay attention to both civil and martial arts? Why didn't I know? How could Zhou Xiaoduo, this bitch, have such literary accomplishments? This didn't match his character, and there was no reason to hide it. The sword technique was naturally a good sword technique. But the biggest disadvantage Zhou Xiaoduo didn't expect was that the other party was also very familiar with these techniques. On the stage, Zhou Xiaoduo constantly changed his sword technique and racked his brains to deal with the other party. However, the moment he used his sword technique, it was restrained. His godfather's sword technique was restrained, and the sword technique that he learned from Hidden Dragon High School was restrained. The sword technique of Kunlun Taoism was restrained, and even the sword techniques of his father and mother were easily broken by the other party. The current Bing Xiaobing was like an unshakable mountain, and made people feel that he was unbeatable. He really didn't want to use his trump card. But Chapter 687. Everyone could see that Zhou Xiaoduo's situation was getting worse and worse. He continuously switched between more than 10 sword styles, from drizzling rain to drizzling rain, all the way to a magnificent sword style that was like a torrential downpour. However, he was still firmly restrained by Bing Xiaobing's ice blade, unable to turn the situation around. Yes, ever since he fell into a disadvantageous position, he hadn't been able to turn the situation around. Instead, his momentum was getting worse and worse. The deep ice, which was extremely rich in combat experience. Few people in the 3 continents could compare to her. At this moment, she was the decisive factor. If it weren't for the fact that Zhou Xiaoduo's accumulated strength had already surpassed the deep ice witch's understanding of the highest combat power in the inner core realm, he would have been defeated long ago. But now, they could only rely on their profound foundation to forcefully endure and endure. Below the stage, Li Qinglong, Gao Qiaoer, and the others were frowning. The situation was not good. All the students of the Hidden Dragon High School held their breaths and watched intently. Everyone felt as if there was a mountain pressing down on their hearts. The combat power that Zhou Xiaoduo was displaying had far exceeded that of an ordinary cultivator at the peak of the nascent soul transformation realm. Above his head, strange scenes of battle were constantly forming. At this moment, it could be said that among the students of the Hidden Dragon High School, except for the top 10 students of the 4th grade, no one dared to say that they would dare to fight with Zhou Xiaoduo. Many of those people were already at the intermediate level of the cloud transformation realm. Some of them were even at the advanced level. But facing the current Zhou Xiaoduo, they had no confidence at all. And Zhou Xiaoduo's powerful strength was actually suppressed by a kid who looked like he was the same age as him. How is this possible? Yi Changqing and Wen Xingtian, who boasted that they knew Zhou Xiaoduo's cultivation progress, felt that something was wrong. How is this possible? They were very clear about Zhou Xiaoduo's accumulation of strength. If there was a genius in this world who was at the same level as Zhou Xiaoduo, but could suppress Zhou Xiaoduo, the two of them wouldn't believe it even if they saw it with their own eyes. This was beyond their imagination. How could he be suppressed by someone at the same level as him? This was completely inconceivable. For a moment, Wen Xingtian had a thought. Could it be that Bing Xiaobing's real age is not as young as he looks? His real cultivation is definitely not at the inner core realm? Since he had this thought, he couldn't help but think, could he suppress Zhou Xiaoduo with his inner core realm? Could he suppress Zhou Xiaoduo with his inner core realm cultivation? The answer, when Xingtian's answer was no. Then who was this Bing Xiaobing? Yi Changqing had the same thought as Wen Xingtian. He sent a telepathic message to Department Head Ding. Department Head, this Bing Xiaobing. Who is he? Department Head Ding's face twitched. He replied with a straight face, I don't know. Yi Changqing said angrily, his real cultivation is definitely not at the inner core realm. It must be the result of the old monster suppressing his cultivation. He can't win with his fists and legs, but he still wants to bet with weapons. How shameless. Department Head Ding didn't reply. Of course, I know who this Bing Xiaobing is. But even if you dare to say that, I don't dare to. I don't want to die. Do you know how amazing your student, Zhou Xiaoduo, is to be able to fight like this? He is a super big shot who has shocked the world for God knows how many years. Even if he suppresses his cultivation, he is still able to kill any Yun realm expert. Zhou Xiaoduo can actually fight with the deep ice witch for an hour. Moreover, he is still struggling and not losing. This is an achievement that no one has achieved since ancient times. Don't you see the gratified expression on the faces of the other generals? His eyes were already shining, and he was just short of drooling, all right? Do you see? Dang, 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 that the sword and saber continued to collide. Zhou Xiaoduo's body swayed and staggered back. The opponent's saber did not relax at all. It was like a maggot in the bone, chasing after him. In the face of such an opponent, Zhou Xiaoduo's half-baked sword art of lightness and heaviness did not dare to move at all. If he moved, he would be knocked out of the arena by this old fox. Zhou Xiaoduo roared. The moment he swung the spirit cat sword with all his might, he suddenly roared, "Scarlet sun, golden sun!" In the steam of the battle, an even more brilliant golden sun suddenly rose and shone in all directions. In an instant, a monstrous heat wave erupted like lava and swept through the surroundings. With a loud bang, the rolling heat wave instantly broke through the cold wave area. The rumbling steam was still rising and rolling. In an instant, it covered the entire field. In an instant, the arena was so dark that it was impossible to see one's fingers in front of one's face. It completely blocked the view of the outside world. Such a change caused lightning to flash and thunder to roll in the clouds. Then, it started to rain heavily, and in the blink of an eye, it became a rainstorm. The rainstorm was pouring. Although the continuous ice domain created by the great ice, which was unintentional, it caused the surrounding atmosphere to accumulate too much freezing air. When the sun suddenly arrived, the continuous ice domain instantly evaporated and naturally gathered a huge amount of water. It would be abnormal if there were no signs of a rainstorm. Hua 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 on the ground outside the arena, countless turbid rivers surged and surged. The water flowed in all directions with a mighty momentum. "Red sun, golden sun!" The Fire Witch and the others all exclaimed. Even the Heavenly King of the Right was shocked. The second level of the Flaming Sun Sutra. Red sun, golden sun. No one had been able to cultivate it for thousands of years. This kid at this age had actually cultivated it. At this time, it was completely impossible to see anything on the arena. Everyone below the arena could only see the rolling, thick fog, as if it was the end of the world. They could not see anything. The heat wave swept through. Even people as strong as Marshal Dongfeng felt as if they were standing next to a red-hot iron stove. They were suffering. The unusual heat was suffocating. Hiss! Ice Spirit was caught off guard and was forced to retreat by the sudden explosion of the heat wave. She could not help but be furious. As Bing Ming suppressed his realm, Ice Spirit's realm was also suppressed to the primary level. Now, she suddenly encountered the red sun, golden sun, which was like a natural enemy to her. Ice Spirit was inadvertently at a disadvantage. Ice Spirit, who had overlooked the world for so many years, could not accept this. With a sharp cry, copious cold air gushed out like the rising tide of the sea. Bing Ming hurriedly stopped her, but it was too late to withdraw the cold air released by the furious Ice Spirit. He could not help but show a guilty look on his face. She was out of her league, below the arena. Yu Dongtian frowned suddenly. Although ordinary people could not see what was happening with their naked eyes, Yu Dongtian, with his cultivation, could see the changes inside clearly. Not only could he see clearly, but he also locked on with his divine thought to see everything clearly. Bing Ming's strength was still at the origin core realm, but Ice Spirit had unsealed herself to the nascent soul realm. This was a violation of the rules. A divine weapon that possessed a considerable degree of self-awareness and the might of its weapon grandmaster was an unconventional 2 versus 1. However, the weapon grandmaster was lucky enough to obtain such a superb divine weapon. Even if he was envious and jealous, there was nothing he could do. However, the divine weapon, because of the circumstances and other factors, self-detonated. Whether it was the weapon grandmaster's will or not, it was still against the rules. Damn it! Yu Dongtian moved his body and was about to make a move. But he was stopped by Zhuolu. Wait for what? Yu Dongtian was confused. He turned his head and was shocked. In the thick steam, Zhuolu stood out like the sun in the sky. Zhuolu did not realize that his opponent was out of his league. He only felt that the pressure from his opponent had suddenly increased. Damn it, I'm going to lose? Zhuolu was anxious and went all out. In the thick steam, Zhuolu suddenly appeared. The agile cat sword in his hand was nowhere to be seen. Instead, it was replaced by a pair of terrifyingly huge hammers. At this moment, Zhuolu was like the reincarnation of the sorcerer ancestor and the arrival of the demon god. At this moment, Yu Dongtian felt like he was looking at the Flood Witch. Yu Tian was not the only one who had this feeling. On the other side, the Great Witch of Raging Fire, his wife, and Great Witch of Dan Kong all opened their eyes wide. Their eyeballs could be seen hanging out of their eye sockets, as if they had seen a ghost. Damn it! These hammers, with a loud roar. Xiaoduo waved the two hammers and rushed up to the sky. Then, he held the hammers and smashed them down fiercely. Then, a fierce whirlwind suddenly rolled up. At the same time, he let out a long roar. Look at my wind and rain sword. On the stage, the icy hell, which was disheartened. You fucking spread your hammers, but you didn't say anything. You let your godson trick me. Moreover, this guy was afraid that I would react and increase my strength, so he directly used the most powerful 1,000 Souls Nightmare Hammer. Boom, boom, boom. So Xiaoduo directly used the maximum power that he could use now. All the spiritual energy in his body was activated to the limit. He used the 1,000 Souls Nightmare Hammer to his heart's content and smashed it out regardless of the consequences. Wealth moved people's hearts, not to mention Xiaoduo's heart. I can't lose. I must have that ice soul. I must get it. You fucking suppressed me for so long. See if I don't smash you flat with my hammers. The icy hell, which didn't care about suppressing his cultivation anymore. If he did, his current body would really be smashed by this guy. Since he was doomed to lose, he might as well unseal it. Between his thoughts, a fierce wind blew between heaven and earth. The cold air soared and covered the sky and the earth. Boom, boom, boom. It took a few hits. The ice soul was full of unreconciled, sorrowful cries. Bing Xiaobing shot out from the thick, rolling fog. With a whoosh, he had already landed outside the stage and among the members of the 5th team. His breathing was steady and his body was spotless. However, he looked at the stage with a strange light in his eyes and said hoarsely, I lost. Chapter 688. I lost. It was a very ordinary word, but to everyone present, the meaning behind it was very unusual. It was completely different. The ice abyss, which thought that she would never say these 3 words in her life. Even when he was defeated by that person, he still didn't say it. The ice deep, which was the kind of person who would rather be beaten to death than admit defeat verbally. He didn't expect to say it today. When the ice spirit was unsealed, he knew he had lost. Unsealed meant he had lost. If he could unseal the ice spirit, he would have used his peak power to fight. Why would he seal it? The deep ice which rarely lost in his life. So it was good that he lost. Besides, as far as this battle was concerned, he was convinced that he had lost. Based on his understanding of the Origin Core realm, the highest battle prowess of an Origin Core realm cultivator could not be compared to Xiaoduo's current Origin Core realm battle prowess. Even with the help of the ice spirit, they still lost despite fighting 2 against 1. Behind him, Lai Hua, and Dan Kong looked terrible, as if they had lost their parents. What the fuck? We lost 10% of our profits. How can we explain this when we go back? Deep ice, why did you lose? Not only did you lose, but it was a double loss. Deep ice even lost an ice spirit. In the eyes of the Lai Hua couple and the great shaman Dan Kong, the value of the ice soul was not less than the 10% profit from the materials. It was truly an ancient treasure. Perhaps it could allow the Star Spirit continent to give birth to an ice elemental almighty who could stand shoulder to shoulder with the ice nether. Alas, it will be hard to explain when we go back. Lai Hua was at a loss. They came out this time without telling the Flood Witch. Their original intention was to see the Flood's godson and satisfy their curiosity. When they went back, they could brag about it and stimulate their boss further. We can't beat you, but we can stimulate you. How can you accept a godson? We have to see it with our own eyes. With such a dark thought in mind, the 3 of them dragged their families over. But the result was, this time, he had really suffered a huge loss. If he went back and said to the Flood, we want to see your godson out of sheer curiosity and schadenfreude, well, the Flood would be angry. Bing Ming had a fight with your godson and lost. Bing Ming lost an ice soul. So the Flood became angry twice. Then, I'm very sorry, but this time we also lost 10% of the resources in the spatial ruins. 3. Wrath of the Flood. Because Bing Ming lost, we lost the bet as well. It seemed like he could shift the blame to someone else. The three of them looked at each other, and then at Bing Ming, who was remorseful, with strange looks in their eyes. Bing Ming is taking the blame for this. Who told you to go up and fight? None of us chased after you. You fought so hard to get on the stage and lost in the end that you were one of the 12 great shamans. How could you lose to an Origin Core Realm Junior? If you don't take the blame, who will? It's not that we are not loyal to you. On the other side, Yu Dongtian laughed out loud. He slapped his thigh and said, I won. I am so wise, brave, and wise. Ha ha, it's all thanks to me. It's all thanks to me. The Heavenly King of the Right was so happy that he couldn't even find his eyes. The King of Zwolu and his wife's faces darkened. Damn it, I will never go out with him again. He is so shameless. It's all thanks to you? You have no conscience at all. On the stage, Zhuo Xiaoduo used all his strength to smash Lil Bing out of the stage, but he didn't stop himself. He was still shouting, watch my sword, watch my sword. He hammered the air dozens of times before he stopped. Then, the three marshals and one of the ministers' faces were dark and twisted as they listened to the brats shouting and smashing. When he stopped, they attacked at the same time. A strong wind blew, blowing away all the water vapor in the sky. This kid obviously didn't want to expose himself. Damn, he was so good at acting. What a veteran actor. In just a moment, Zhuo Xiaoduo's valiant figure was revealed on the stage. He was in a white robe, clean and tidy. He held a long sword in his hand, which shone with a cold light. At this moment, his murderous aura was still there, which made him look extraordinary. At this moment, Zhuo Xiaoduo gracefully stood on the stage. With a flip of her wrist, a cold light flashed, and the cat spirit's sword immediately returned to its scabbard. Her movements were extremely elegant and at ease. Then, he turned his wrist again, and the sword returned to his space ring. Then he clasped his hands, smiled, and bowed. His elegant voice carried a sense of elegance. Brother Bing, thank you for letting me win. Even his voice had a hint of elegance to it. He really did look refined, elegant, and graceful. He was a martial arts genius with outstanding literary talent. Below the stage, Bing Ming took a deep breath. Amazing, you are indeed amazing. Zhuo Xiaoduo laughed. Brother Bing, I was lucky to win the last move. That sword was my last trump card. This sword of wind and rain was passed down from ancient times. It was said to be the ultimate move of the legendary sword god Shimen Shui from 108,000 years ago. I only learned it by chance. You forced me to use my last sword move. You can be said to be the strongest opponent I have ever met. Bing Ming was speechless. Zhuo Xiaoduo smiled faintly. Brother Bing, I wonder if you have time tonight? You and I opened our hearts to each other the moment we met, and we instantly felt like old friends. We appreciate each other, and we've met each other's match, especially since we still have a bet to pay, and I have another gift to give Brother Bing. How about I treat you to dinner tonight? This kid was afraid that Bing Ming would reveal his trump card. Although he spoke slowly, he kept talking. He had always been a greedy person, but now he proposed to treat Bing Ming to dinner. He even added that Bing Ming didn't lose anything because he had a gift and returned out well. As long as you don't say it now, it will be fine. Just now, the fog was so thick that I couldn't see anything. Even if I used a hammer and the fog got well, no one should have seen it, right? In a while, I have to talk to Teacher One and the others and see if I can use the Marshal's connections to hide this trump card of mine. There were a lot of powerful people in the battle just now. Wouldn't it be a big loss for me? It's very likely that my trump card has already been seen by quite a few people. But the three marshals will leave soon. They will guard the border. They won't leak it, right? Plus, we are on the same side now. It's Lil Bing and his companions. Sort of wind and rain. Bing Ming, which was speechless. He said, it is indeed sharp and unparalleled. I heard it. Don't say it. Even if you asked me to say it, I wouldn't dare. I have more scruples than you. How about it? Zhuo Xiaoduo continued to invite Bing Ming on the stage. Come to my place for dinner tonight. I have good wine. I'll go too. On the other side, the heavenly king of the right spoke. The bet wasn't over yet. They won, but something still had to be said. Hey, you Xiao, you're going too? Good, good, good. Then I'll count you in. Zhuo Duo said. I'll go too. King of Zulu said, my wife and I will go. My name is Yun Xiaohu. This is my wife, by Xiaoduo. Zhuo coughed. This brat had never shown his strength before, but he actually wanted to drag his family to eat and drink from him. Humph, Yun Xiaohu and by Xiaoduo. Do you really think I can't tell that they are fake names? But in front of everyone, he could only say, okay, okay. Welcome, welcome. The more people, the merrier. On the fifth team side, the Fire Witch raised his hand. If that's the case, I'll go too. My wife, Bing Lil Bing, and Kong Xiaodan will all go. Don't worry, we'll be responsible for supervising the things he lost to you. You won't be left out. So Xiaoduo's eyes immediately lit up. That's a lot more sensible. His words were so straightforward. Understanding people and straightforward people. Okay, so Xiaoduo said, everyone come. I'll prepare a table full of good dishes to entertain everyone. Okay, you're so considerate. Today's martial arts meeting was really satisfying. I was lucky to win. I'm ashamed to accept it. So Xiaoduo said a lot of humble words. Now that he could finally confirm that no one had exposed him, he was naturally relieved and could shut up. Department head Ding was originally quite fond of Zhuo Xiaoduo. This kid had given his daughter 2,000 caddies of Beast King meat. His daughter had praised Zhuo Xiaoduo for his conscience. Now he saw that this kid was such a genius that he defeated the ice, which thought this was an amazing achievement. Just from this point alone, his future potential was at least at the heavenly king level. At this moment, the more he looked at Zhuo Xiaoduo, the more he liked him. It was a pity that he was too young and his daughter was already married. Otherwise, if he had such a son-in-law, he would wake up laughing in his dreams. In this battle, Hidden Dragon expert Zhuo Xiaoduo wins. Zhuo Xiaoduo returned proudly. This battle had been thrilling to the core. Now, everyone could finally relax. Meanwhile, General Dongfeng secretly transmitted his voice to Yi Chongqing. You understand what happened, right? Yi Chongqing was ashamed. Yes, I understand. Previously, I didn't know the inside story and repeatedly offended you, General. Please punish me severely. Marshal Dongfeng said, there's a difference in individual standpoints. Previously, as the principal of Hidden Dragon High School, you stood up for the students. That's what you should do. That's what you should do. Why should I punish you? However, what really makes me happy is that when I was inspecting the students' emotions, many of them were deep in thought and had come to a realization. There are indeed many talents in Hidden Dragon High School. However, there are still many people who are angry about the deaths of all the people who participated in the previous 10 battles. It's not convenient for us to clarify this matter directly. If we clarify, it's equivalent to forcing the king of Zhongyuan to his death. However, the higher-ups don't have this intention, so there's nothing we can do. Yi Chongqing understood tacitly. This subordinate understands. This subordinate has already organized the teachers of each class to explain to the students. General Dongfeng said, I've already uploaded a file to your phone. It states the cause of this matter, as well as the true identities and backgrounds of the people who were killed. They were all the illegitimate children of the king of Zhongyuan. Moreover, this is a nationwide operation. We'll completely remove all the power of the king of Zhongyuan's faction. Do you understand? Chapter 689. Understood. Thank you, Marshal. Yes, the emotions of the students need to be guided, but for those who don't accept explanations and only care about their own emotions, remember not to be soft-hearted. This is a high martial arts school, not a liberal arts school. Sometimes some thunderous methods are needed to govern the school. Marshal Dongfeng warned, young people are hot-blooded and have a fondness for beauties. It is understandable and understandable. But those who are bewitched by beauties and lose their sanity are not acceptable. Knowing that there is no hope, knowing that the other party has ulterior motives, but still using love as an excuse to work for the other party with a mindset of everything is as long as you are happy is not infatuation, but foolishness. Both the military and the government will never accept such trash, because such people are not only useless, but they will also spoil things. In times of peace, they can be tolerated, but in times of life and death, they cannot be allowed to be willful. Yes, I will follow Marshall's instructions. You may go. Next, the martial arts competition continued in the arena, but the form teachers of each grade and class were all doing the same thing. That was to explain to the students. After all, they really couldn't ignore the students' emotions. The real reason for today's thunderous 10 battles. Actually, a small number of clear-minded students had already guessed the real reason and had even started to spread it. Now, the teachers had explained it personally, and the higher-ups had not left yet. But after killing those 10 people, the king of the Central Plains had already left. That this already explained too many problems, so this job went very smoothly. The purpose of the thunderous 10 battles is to remove the king of the Central Plains wings and attack the king of the Central Plains organization. The 9 male students who died were the illegitimate children of the king of the Central Plains. They were plotting. Their identity information is already being transmitted. As for Xiao Junyi, although she's only the adopted daughter of the king of the Central Plains, she is the core of the conspiracy. Prepare. This operation involves the reputation of the royal family, so it is not suitable to be publicized. It is good that everyone knows it in their hearts. After this, it is forbidden to spread it outside. As Yi Changqing passed the information from Marshal Dongfang to the teachers, this job became even easier to carry out. The students who could advance to high martial arts were no fools. If they wanted to kill the martial artists of the Hidden Dragon Realm, destroy the martial artists of the Hidden Dragon Realm, and destroy the young martial artists of the Hidden Dragon Realm, why would they need the 3 marshals to personally come and hold the fort? The 3 commanders might have come to suppress the king of Zhongyuan to the point that he did not dare to move. But on the other hand, they also gave all the students a reassurance. It's not like the 3 commanders are going to collectively betray us just to suppress the Hidden Dragon High martial artist, right? Otherwise, why didn't the number 1 geniuses kill them? What's more, so what if he's a Hidden Dragon martial artist? Why would the great commanders come to suppress them? If it wasn't for an important purpose, how could he do this? If you can't see this, then you're stupid. If you're deliberately going to a dead end, then you're an idiot. Especially after when Xing Tian finished explaining to his class, he said, to put it bluntly, this matter involves the privacy of the royal family. It's even more gracious of the marshals to allow Qianlong to explain to the students. None of the students are fools. To be able to enter the Hidden Dragon High martial artist with the title of a genius, none of them are fools. If they can't even see the strangeness in this matter and don't reflect on it, their future achievements will only be average. And in this operation, the students who reacted first have probably already been recorded. It can be considered as a foundation for their future achievements. From this point of view, it can also be considered as a selection of talents in the Hidden Dragon High martial artist. So in the future, don't be too excited. Calm down and think thrice when you encounter something. There are many things that may not be true even if you see them with your own eyes. In front of the king of Zhongyan, killing his illegitimate children one by one, destroying all his plans, and pulling out all his wings. Isn't that cruel? Or some people say that it's easier to just kill the king of Zhongyuan directly. But are the people who say this stupid or not? A prince of the royal family, the descendant of the god of war, is he someone you can kill just because you want to? Before his crimes are completely exposed, before his crimes are completely confirmed, before the rebellion is carried out, if you really kill him, think about the chain of consequences. There are also those who say that he hasn't committed any crimes yet. So wouldn't it be wrong to kill him? Can't you just wait until he rebels before killing him? The students who say this, I just want to say, let's not talk about how much influence he will have if he rebels, how many sins he will commit, and how many people he will kill. If he rebels in your city, and the first step of the rebellion is to kill your parents, would you think this way? So, students, think about it more when you encounter something in the future. I don't want to explain it to you like this, but there are too many things that you don't understand. What can you do? It's also quite tiring for me to talk. When Xing Tian was very helpless, he said, actually, This explanation really doesn't have much use other than letting a certain and scrupulous author take advantage of the fact that some people don't understand and wantonly cheat a wave of royalties. But who asked you to give him such a reason? The situation in the Hidden Dragon High martial artist quickly stabilized. In fact, many students who were already in contact with those people and were already prepared to do something together were all drenched in cold sweat. A few male students who were smitten by Xiao Junyi were even more drenched in sweat, and their clothes were soaked. She thought about how her teachers had deduced that if Xiao Junyi really became the crown prince's consort in the future, then her family would definitely lean towards her. If that was the case, the consequences would be truly unimaginable. However, where there were smart people, there would definitely be fools. Otherwise, how could smart people show off their intelligence? There were still 5 or 6 boys who cried bitterly, thinking that they had lost their love and that someone had killed their goddess. This hatred and enmity were absolutely irreconcilable. If they didn't take revenge, they were not human. After the explanation, we understood. She is the adopted daughter of the king of the Central Plains. She is the future crown princess. She has ulterior motives. She is sinister and vicious. But so what? I like her. I really like her. She is a fairy. I am willing to follow her to heaven. She is a devil. I am also willing to follow her to hell. I only hope that she can be happy, that she can live a peaceful life. For this, I can give my all, whether she is good or bad. What does it have to do with me liking her? True love is not guilty. Yes, true love is not guilty. My love will never change, even in death. Little Bunny Lan killed Xiao Junyi, so she is my lifelong enemy. One day, I will chop off her head as a sacrifice to my true love. Sob, sob, sob. I just can't accept it. Why did she kill Junyi so cruelly? Little Bunny Lan, you and I are absolutely irreconcilable. Towards this group of students, Hidden Dragon High School chose to give them the cold shoulder. Child, you can do whatever you want. If you want to take revenge, there is no harm in going now. But you are responsible for your own life and death, as long as you don't regret it when you die. Hidden Dragon High School will not stand up for you because of this matter. Everything that happens after this is your own choice. Whereas the commander of the 3 armies and some people from Team 2 smiled faintly as they looked towards the group of students. There was really no one else who wanted to take revenge on white-haired, celestial immortal. Congratulations to all of you for choosing the most vicious and merciless enemy. Perhaps other people would still consider these things as the future uses of the continent's geniuses. But for this person, there was absolutely no possibility of any misgivings. There was no need to force her into a corner. If she was really anxious, even if it was the commander's son, she would still kill him. Just this time, killing Xiao Junyi. How many people's plans have been ruined? There were so many people who wanted to kill her. How could there be a chance for you few brats? The battles on the stage continued one after another. But the next few challenges were spontaneously canceled. This was not hard to understand. These people had originally intended to challenge Xiao Duo. But now, no one mentioned it anymore. The deep ice which had gone up and lost. No one present dared to say that their foundation was stronger than the deep ice witches. That was impossible. Since it was so, going up would be embarrassing. Then what was the point of going up? Wasn't it better to just let the deep ice witch lose face? So, the challenges were canceled. And the high quality of the Hidden Dragon High School geniuses really caused the commander of the 3 armies and Team 1 and 2 to be astonished. They discovered that the cultivation of this year's Hidden Dragon students had really far surpassed that of the previous years. The raging fire witch's expression became more and more unsightly. Looking at this group of Hidden Dragon High School students and thinking about the rising stars of the Umno Alliance's younger generation, that although he had not come into contact with those little brats, but compared to those he had seen before, that if he were to really compare them, it was really more likely that he would lose. Not to mention that in this year's Hidden Dragon High School students, there was Xiao Duo, the boss's godson, this freak. He was definitely an extremely ruthless person among the younger generation that no one could compare to. Also, that Li Chenglong, who had made a move earlier, There were probably not many people in the Umno Alliance's younger generation that could compare to him. This time when we go back, we must pay more attention to the younger generation. The raging fire which had a realization in his heart. Education really has to start from the beginning. Looking at the sky, it was already late. The Hidden Dragon High School was having its last competition, and Marshal Dongfang, Department Head Ding, and the others had already been arranged a banquet by the Hidden Dragon High School. As for the left and right Heavenly Kings, they had already agreed to go eat with Zhuo, but the Hidden Dragon High School had not arranged anything. Apart from these few people, the others were all eating at the Hidden Dragon High School. You guys can go back after eating. It's okay. All the important people are here. Go back by yourself after eating. Cough. Remember not to speak carelessly when you go back. Thus, everyone in Team 2 and Team 5 was dumbfounded. Then do we still dare to go back? What do we say when we go back? If others ask, do we dare to not answer? Wouldn't we be beaten to death on the spot? Thus, these people discussed with each other. Why don't we stay in Fenghai City tonight? When the sun rises, these leaders will probably have gone back and finished giving instructions, and we will be fine when we go back. As for those people from the Dao Alliance, they were all held back by them. If we don't go back, you guys shouldn't go back either. Marshal Dongfang and the others actually wanted to go to Zhuo place to eat and join in the fun. Of course, they were more curious. Why are you all going? However, they were directly rejected by the left and right Heavenly Kings. We are all young people gathering together. You bunch of old people shouldn't join in the fun. Fuck your grandpa, who is a young person. You have the nerve to tell us that you are a young person? Who are you insulting? Marshal Dongfang and the other two marshals were so angry that their stomachs were full of swill. The matter of the Hidden Dragon High School had basically come to an end, and they were discussing the problem of how to eat. The sky was gradually getting dark, and it was gradually getting dusk. So Xiaoduo began to call out, "Come, let's go to my house to eat. After all, the bet hasn't been obtained yet. Don't even think about running away. Even if I have to give up a meal, I have to leave the bet first." Yu Dongtian and the others responded enthusiastically. Lai Hua and the others didn't want to act shamelessly, so they agreed readily and followed Xiaoduo. And at this time, a very ordinary couple leisurely entered Fenghai City. Please vote. My hand is really cramping today. Chapter 690. How far is it from here to Dogda's villa? Wu Yuding checked the location map that her son had sent her. It's not far. Zhuo was calm. I've checked. Once we enter the city, we could take a taxi. It's only an hour's drive. By the way, do you know the name of that place? Hidden Dragon High School Villa District, Zhuo Changlu said. Isn't that a random name? Look at your IQ now. Ha ha ha. Wu Yuding waved her hand and hailed a taxi. She twisted the soft flesh on Zhuo Changlu's waist as she got into the car. Where are you two going? The driver asked. Hiss. Hidden Dragon High School. Hiss. Villa District. Hiss. Zhuo Changlu's face was distorted. Honey, you twisted a little more meat this time, and you used more force than before. Okay, you two are done. The driver stepped on the accelerator and went out. About an hour and 10 minutes. It should be around 7:10 when we reach there. Let's go. We should still be in time for dinner. We're finally here. Wu Yuding sat in the back seat with a relaxed expression. I wonder if Dogda has lost weight? Zhuo Changlu rolled his eyes. With his temper, he can eat until he's swollen at home. How could he lose weight? Wu Yuding said unhappily, Xiao Duo likes to eat leek pancakes, leek tofu dumplings, and freshly steamed buns at home. Who will cook for him here? He always eats outside, and all he eats is gutter oil. Don't worry about the leeks sold outside. The pesticides are heavy. Zhuo Changlu sighed and took out his phone to play with it. He did not want to talk to a mother who only cared about her son. It was too annoying. Too annoying. As long as her son was not in her arms, she would not be at ease no matter where he went. If he was cold, hungry, skinny, wrong that he was a living adult, okay? Moreover, he was a super genius with strong martial arts. Cruel Wolf was given a villa as soon as he started school that in the end, in his mother's heart, he was still a baby in swaddling clothes. Put down your phone. Are you planning to spend the rest of your life with your phone? Wu Yuding was extremely dissatisfied. Who are you trying to show your half-dead look to when we talk about our son? Can't you be more attentive? Zhuo Changlu put away his phone with a helpless expression. What else could she do? How am I supposed to care? Don't you know how to give Dogda a call and tell him not to eat first? We'll take him out to eat something good tonight. Wu Yuding said. I heard that there's a rank 1 heavenly god here. It seems pretty good. Zhuo Changlu was speechless. There's no need to call, right? Don't call a martial artist if you don't have to. What if? Then don't fight. Wu Yuding was shocked and looked at Zhuo Changlu fiercely. Why don't you want your son to be better? With a father like you, what's the difference? So I thought I'm really wrong no matter what I say, but I can't not say it. Zhuo Changlu deeply felt that his position in the family was slipping further and further into the abyss. The driver finally understood. Are the two of you here to see your son? Is he studying here? Yes, my son is in Hidden Dragon High School. He's a new student this year. Wu Yuding said proudly. Amazing. The driver was shocked and suddenly felt deep respect. That's a school that only geniuses can enter. Congratulations, your son is too promising. Wu Yuding was instantly beaming with joy and accepted all the compliments. Zhuo Changlu closed his eyes and rested. Outside the car window, the city's neon lights flashed across his face. His wife was beside him, and he was about to see his son. His body was in the boundless secular world, and his heart was floating outside the heavens. For a moment, Zhuo Changlu was actually enlightened. In Zhuo Changlu's eyes, the neon lights flashing across his face were like the lives of passers-by, flashing by in his own time. This is the secular world. Life and death is life. Flowers blooming and wilting, isn't that life? Where's the secular world? Where the lights are flashing, isn't that life? Where's the secular world? The passage of time is life. The rise and fall of the tide is life. Noisy life is life. Commanding the wind and clouds is also life. A mysterious aura silently rose. Different colors of neon lights flashed across Zhuo Changlu's face. Wu Yuding faintly felt the fluctuation of his state of mind at this moment. She couldn't help but close her eyes. Wu Yuding closed her eyes as she sat in the car that was being controlled by someone. She could clearly feel the ripples in the cycle of reincarnation. Even if she closed her eyes, she could still feel the flashing neon lights. They were like countless ghosts flickering in front of her eyes, that a cycle of reincarnation, countless lives, countless births and deaths, countless births and deaths, innumerable grudges, innumerable departures. A grand banquet of the boundless universe, that Wu Yuding's face became tranquil, quiet, and calm. She seemed to be able to hear her husband's heartbeat. It was beating rhythmically. She gently held her husband's hand, and her heart was exceptionally peaceful. No matter how life reincarnates, we will be together like this. In fact, reincarnation and not reincarnation, what does it have to do with anything? Life is just a journey. Life is a dream. How many autumns have passed in the world? They all say not to look back. How many people can turn back? Zhuo Changlu's eyes seemed to be looking out of the window. However, he didn't see anything. Only the countless neon lights flashed across his eyes. It was as if he had cut off countless lives with one slash. It was as if he had seen countless living creatures in his life, that you have all experienced the vicissitudes of life and reincarnated a few times. But I'm still in the mortal world, walking in a mortal world. Zhuo Changlu only felt that the road in front of him seemed to be expanding infinitely. From near where the light shone, it extended all the way to the infinitely bright, far, and infinite place. His eyes silently flickered with light. Mortal dust transformation. What was mortal dust transformation? I am already in the mortal world. Why do I need to? Mortal world? A man in the mortal world has his intention in the 9 heavens. Boom! A corner of a shackle in Zhuo Changlu's heart suddenly broke. The remaining part had already turned into a spiderweb, full of cracks. The husband and wife's hearts were connected. At this moment, Wu Yuding also felt that her spiritual world was continuously shaking. A great path to heaven suddenly appeared in the distance. Endless distance, boundless depth, sparkling. There was only a door between him and this great Tao, and it was within reach. But now a corner of this door was already damaged, and it was already revealing the light behind the door. He only needed to use a little bit of strength, and it would suddenly open up. And this strength was something that she could control. Almost at the same time, Wu Yuting slowly opened her eyes. Zhou Changlu's wooden eyes also suddenly brightened. Then, they looked at each other and smiled. "Master, how much longer?" Wu Yuting asked. "About 10 minutes. We will be there soon." The driver replied straightforwardly. In that instant, the driver felt as if he was dreaming, as if he had spent an eternity in that dream. But when his mind returned to reality, he was clearly still extremely clear-headed as he drove, that he felt refreshed. The occupational disease that he had worked hard for half his life and the indescribable fatigue seemed to have been stripped away from his body at this moment. At this moment, his body was even healthier and more refreshed than when he was 17 or 18 years old. The driver didn't know that tonight. He had already received a great benefit that ordinary people couldn't even dream of. In this life, he wouldn't have any more illnesses. Moreover, his soul was clear. Once he died of old age, he would definitely have the opportunity to be reincarnated. When he came to this world again, he would definitely be a high-level astral soul. There was no doubt about it. Amidst the bustling city, a taxi was moving forward at a leisurely pace, disappearing into the colorful neon lights in the distance. "Please come in, please come in. You are all distinguished guests. This humble house is very honored." Zhou Xiaoduo and Li Chenglong's faces were full of eagerness and politeness, but in their hearts, they were speechless. What kind of people are these that I just made way casually, but they really came, and all of them came? It's fine that the 4 people of the 5th team came, but why did the 3 people of the 2nd team come too? What does this have to do with you? What does it have to do with you? Don't you know that I'm very poor? So Xiaoduo was speechless, but his face was full of enthusiasm. After all, he didn't really get the bet yet. "Please take a seat. My humble house is simple, and I can't serve you well. I'm so sorry." Thinking of the bet, Xiaoduo smiled like a flower. Grandma sure came over to take a look and then left. Because Xiaoduo made it clear, you should rest. These are just a few ordinary guests. It's not worth it for you to personally serve them. I'll just ask first grade of the heavens to send some dishes over. If you have to personally serve these little bastards. I'm so sorry. Grandma sure took a look, and it was true. They were all young, 5 men and 2 women. At first glance, she could tell that they were inexperienced. They were the kind that could be pinched with a bag of water, that obviously they were Zhou Xiaoduo's young friends who came to have fun. Then let the young people do it themselves. She didn't feel comfortable listening to the young people's conversation. Everyone sat on the sofa, according to the host and guest. Zhou Xiaoduo directly asked Li Chenglong to prepare the wine and dishes. "Prepare more vegetables. I'm tired of eating fish and meat every day." Therefore, Li Chenglong made a phone call and asked first grade of the heavens to send 2 tables of dishes over. It was done in an instant. Then they just had to exchange greetings and wait for the dishes to be served. Speaking of which, I'm very ashamed. So Xiaoduo occupied the main seat and sat on the sofa, facing the south with his back facing the north, like a tiger crouching in a dragon's crouching position. His words were intimate and polite. "I only know Brother Bing's name, but I don't know who you are." "Ha!" So Xiaoduo smiled fakely. In his heart, he was already 100% sure that these guys were the kind of big shots who had hidden their identities. However, he did not know exactly how big their identities were. Especially those in the 2nd team. Their official positions should be ordinary. Didn't they see that General Dongfang and the others were on the stage, and these little bastards could only squat on the field below? This completely showed that these guys were of low status. Chapter 691. In other words, the status of these fellows was far lower than General Dongfang. They were all the subordinates of the generals. Maybe they were the subordinates of the generals, and they were here to complete the mission. They were probably generals or brigadier generals. Anyway, they were not particularly important. The purpose of these people from Team 2 was definitely to restrain those from Team 5. From this, It could be seen that these guys from the UMNO Alliance were just small characters in the UMNO Alliance that, after all, the kind of opponent would have the kind of enemy. If they really had a high status, General Dongfang and the others would definitely come to his house personally to ensure his safety. In this way, everything would make sense, and General Dongfang and the others would be so relieved. Even if these people had other identities, they would at most be the descendants of some important people. They would definitely not be important people themselves. So Xiaoduo had already made up his mind on this point. He could not help but look at them with disdain. Little bastards, are you ready to eat at Master Zhu's house? Not only him, Li Qinglong also had the same thought, because this was the result of their discussion on the way here. It was not difficult to come to this conclusion. Therefore, Zhou Xiaoduo and Li Qinglong both felt that they had seen through all of them. That was why they were so confident. I am Bing Xiaobing. I won't repeat myself. The ice abyss which smiled bitterly, feeling even more depressed. It was not important to lose the ice spirit today, but the 10% of resources bet was not within his calculations. It was all Aihua's fault. He acted on his own initiative and dared to call for anything. But at that time, I was fighting. How would I know how Aihua started the bet? So this matter has nothing to do with me. I will definitely not take the blame for this. Whoever wants to take the blame will take it. Aihua scratched his red hair and laughed. I am Lai Xiaohua. This is my wife, Shui Xiaoluo. Good aim, good mood. Zhou Xiaoduo seemed to be sincerely praising. He really knew how to give names. Lai Xiaohua, Shui Xiaoluo, Bing Xiaobing. What a big deal. If I can't tell that it's a fake name, I'll find a piece of tofu and knock my head against a pile of dog shit. My name is Kong Xiaodian. Great, which Dan Kong calmly introduced himself. Among this group of people, based on his appearance, he was the most handsome one. Hello, Brother Kong. Zhou Xiaoduo and Li Qinglong both smiled reservedly at the same time. Li Qinglong even praised. Brother Kong, you really are a man of striking appearance. You stand out from the crowd. No. Great, which Dan Kong laughed dryly. He hurriedly sat down. I am Yu Xiaoyu. The heavenly king of the right said, this is my real name, not a fake one. Yin Xiaohu. The king of Zhuolu coughed. This is my wife by Xiaoduo. Xiaoduo, you can call her sister-in-law. Hello, Brother Yin. Hello, sister-in-law. Zhou Xiaoduo and Li Qinglong bowed at the same time. These two people's senses were far sharper than ordinary people. They immediately felt that Yin Xiaohu and Bai Xiaoduo were the ones who gave them the most cordial feeling among all the people who came to attend a meeting. It was a kind of cordial feeling that came from the bottom of their hearts. It was real. Then, they could clearly feel that they were on the same side. There was also Yu Xiaoyu, but compared to Yun and Bai, there was a gap. As for the others, it was very strange to say that they were like friends and enemies. It was hard to describe them. However, it was pardonable and reasonable. These four people were clearly members of the UMNO Alliance. It was already fate that they could sit together now. It was impossible to expect them to act cordial. They were already restraining themselves by not fighting on the spot. After everyone introduced themselves, the atmosphere became even more lively. So Xiaoduo chuckled and took out piles of spirit fruits from his spatial ring. He placed them on the table and eagerly offered them to everyone. Please, come, have some fruits to quench your thirst. Brother Kong, Brother Bing, Brother Lai. Haha, these are the specialties of the Astral Souls continent. You probably haven't eaten them before. Please, don't be shy. So Xiaoduo smiled warmly, as if he had the pearl of wisdom in his hands. His words were full of, I've already seen through you. Stop pretending. Today we just need to have a tacit understanding between us. And so on. There was even a kind of, you UMNO Alliance barbarians probably haven't eaten our Astral Souls continent spirit fruits before, right? You haven't seen them before, right? Ha! You country bumpkins. It was a condescending way. Bai Xiaoduo lowered her head and almost laughed out loud. Then she stood up and said, everyone have some tea. Xiaoduo, have some fruits. As she spoke, she picked up the teapot and began to pour tea for everyone. It felt as if she had automatically treated this place as her own home. As the host, she had to treat her guests. So Xiaoduo didn't feel offended at all. Instead, he felt even more cordial. This by Xiaoduo was really good. The way she took care of him made Xiaoduo feel very warm and comforted. Yu Xiaoyu started the conversation first. She laughed and said, "I'm so happy to meet you this time. Lai Xiaohua, haha, you're a man. Remember to keep your promises." Lai Xiaohua rolled his eyes and said sullenly, "Of course. We always keep our promises. Those who don't keep their promises know what's going on." Yu Xiaoyu laughed. "Kong Xiaodan, what do you say?" Kong Xiaodan picked up a spirit fruit and took a bite. She rolled her eyes and said, "My words are like the wind. Anyway, I don't owe you anything." Bing Xiaobing. Ha ha ha. Yu Xiaoyu was full of. It was probably the feeling of a villain who got what she wanted. "What does your shady business have to do with me?" Bing Xiaobing ate the spirit fruit and drank the tea. He was very satisfied. He couldn't help but sigh. The material comforts here are really good. It's a different flavor. As he said that, he actually used his butt to bounce on the sofa. He seemed to be enjoying himself. "You're so useless." Xue Xiaoluo glared at him. Bing Xiaobing returned her a look that said, "Go ahead if you can." Then, he continued to eat his fruit and didn't speak for a long time. "You'll lose too. You're not even as good as me. If I lose, isn't it just a loss? It's not like I haven't lost before. What can I do about it? His foundation is solid and awesome. What can I do? You guys won't let me unseal and want me to win. I didn't expect to meet such a freak. Besides, Boss Flood gave the 1,000-soul nightmare hammer to his godson. If I lose, isn't it too much? If it wasn't for the 1,000-soul nightmare hammer, thinking of this, the eyes of the deep ice which suddenly lit up. That's a good reason. If I have to take the blame for this, then I might as well let the Flood Boss take the blame for it." Thinking of this, the ice nether which suddenly felt a sense of peace of mind. "That's right. How can you blame me for losing? You fucking armed your godson to the teeth and didn't tell me. How can you blame me for this? This is clearly Boss Flood colluding with the other party to scheme against me. Oomph. I'll settle this with you when we get back. Although I don't plan to do anything to you, don't think you can use this reason to punish me. If you want to punish someone, punish yourself first." On the other side, Yun Xiaohu coughed and said Xiaoyu. Yu Xiaoyu said unhappily, "Will it kill you to call me Brother Xiaoyu?" Yun Xiaohu snorted and rolled his eyes. "This is my house, so you better behave yourself. By the way, I'll tell you one more thing. The credit for this is all mine." Yu Xiaoyu laughed and rolled her eyes as well. She was very disdainful. "Just by you a blockhead? Can you make this contribution? Can you do it without me?" Yun Xiaohu was unconvinced. "Why can't I do it without you?" Yu Xiaoyu smiled happily and winked at Lai Xiaohua. "Xiaohua, don't you think so? Right, red hair?" Ha ha. Yu Xiaoyu was very high-spirited today, and she had the feeling that she was in control of the world. In this place, she was the boss. Lai Xiaohua said angrily, "Try calling me red hair again? Do you believe that I won't kill you here?" Yu Xiaoyu was stunned. "Fight here? You're fucking fine, but I'm afraid I'll have to scour the world for ingredients again." Out at the side, Bai Xiaoduo frowned and said, "We're all sitting here. I have something to say." The few of them sat up straight and said, "Sister-in-law, please speak." Bai Xiaoduo said, "Although we're all on different sides, we're all familiar with each other. To put it bluntly, I really can't understand. In this world today, how can some people be so thick-skinned? Xiaoduo invited us to his house for a meal out of goodwill. But this is the first time we're here, and we're here with our heads on our shoulders? Where's the shame? Where's the shame?" When she said that, Lai Xiaohua, Xue Xiaoluo, Kong Xiaodan, and Bing Xiaobing were all stunned. Then they understood. "Fuck, are you trying to extort us? Are you helping with Xiaoduo to extort us? We've lost so much that our pants are about to fall off. You actually want to give us gifts when we're here for a meal? What kind of rule is this? How can you say it so righteously? Where's your shame? Where's your shame?" Bing Xiaobing was stunned. He stuttered, "This gift, let's forget about it. I've already lost." He was conflicted with their statuses and backgrounds if they really had to give a greeting gift. What should they give? Moreover, from what he said, they had to give everyone a gift. How could a single meal cost so much? Xue Xiaoluo coughed and smiled. "Forget it. Let me represent you. I'll give. Then, Lai Xiaohua covered her mouth. Don't speak. Wife, we've already lost so much, and you still want to give? This is not the UMNO alliance. You're helping the enemy, do you understand? Today, I won't give it to you even if I die. At this moment, Li Chenglong, who was near the door, heard something and turned around. Eh? Oh, rank 1 of firmaments is here to deliver food. Chapter 692. The food is here. Oh. Kong Xiaodan cheered and broke the silence. She was obviously trying to disrupt the atmosphere and deny the gift. As soon as he finished speaking, he turned around and excitedly went out to serve the dishes. Wow, it smells so good. Lai Xiaohua cheered and went out to serve the food as well. What's that smell? Why is it so fragrant? It smells so good. Bing Xiaobing went out. There's a lot of food. They won't be able to finish it. Shui Shaluo laughed awkwardly and went out with a red face. The 4 of them had made up their minds. If they wanted to deny it, then bite them. Bai Xiaoduo was so angry that her face turned red. You guys are good. You guys are really good. You guys are really thick-skinned. Yu Xiaoyu and Yun Xiaohu also chimed in. This is so embarrassing. Your face. TSK, TSK, TSK. The 4 from the UMNO alliance turned a deaf ear. They had made up their minds not to give the food. What we did today was already enough for the enemy. If we continue, we'll be idiots. We'll definitely be beaten half to death if we go back now. If we give any more gifts, we'll probably lose our lives under Boss Hammer. No matter what you guys say, we only have food in our eyes. Wow, this fish is not small. Damn, what is this dish? It smells so good. There's even wine. Let me see, let me see. The 4 from the UMNO alliance went back and forth to serve the food, making it seem like they were very busy. They couldn't hear what the others were saying. Bai Xiaoduo's face turned even uglier. She hugged her arms and said, Fine, you guys are thick-skinned. I won't say anything. But if word gets out that the 7 of us came to eat here and didn't even leave a strand of hair behind. Ha! I can't afford to lose face like that. Lai Xiaohua and the others still turned a deaf ear. It doesn't matter if you can't afford to lose face, as long as we can. Bing Xiaobing suddenly laughed. Li Chenglong, do you have a big table at home? Do you need a swivel table? Come, let's do it together. I'm afraid you won't be able to lift it alone. Li Chenglong smiled bitterly. What do you mean I can't lift it? I can even lift 100,000 caddies. These people were unexpectedly thick-skinned. The sister-in-law had already said that, but these people's faces didn't even turn red. Li Chenglong was impressed. In order to avoid this topic, the 4 of them made more than 30 trips to and fro for a total of 20 dishes, and no less than 17 or 18 trips back and forth empty-handed. Bai Xiaoduo didn't bother to hide her disdain at all. A country bumpkin from a barren land doesn't know any manners. As expected of someone from a poor place. You don't know anything. What a barbarian. It's hard to teach him. TSK, 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 how embarrassing. When I see your boss in the future, I'll definitely get him to teach you a lesson. The 4 of them ran to serve the dishes while Bai Xiaoduo stood at the side with her arms crossed, mocking and ridiculing them. He was so angry that his stomach was swollen, but there was no reaction from the other side. It was as if he was talking to 4 deaf people. The 4 of them had obviously made up their minds to turn a deaf ear to his words. You can scold him or not. We'll just pretend that we didn't hear you. We've lost too many things today. We've lost so much that our hearts are aching. No matter what, we can't give them away anymore. Besides, it's just losing some face after being scolded by you. How much is face worth? The ones losing face are Lai Xiaohua, Kong Xiaodan, and Bing Xiaobing. Not Lai Hua, Deep Ice, or Dan Kong. We don't care. And we have to eat this meal no matter what. We don't dare to eat at 1 meter higher Sky's house, but we can eat his son's meal. When we see that old man in the future, we can also say, Hey, Oldswa, we ate at your house before, huh? And we didn't even take a single strand of hair, huh? I'm just asking you, are you angry? Are you angry? You'll die from anger, huh? Zhou Xiaoduo heard Bai Xiaoduo's words just now and was eagerly waiting to receive the gift. His hand was about to reach out, but in the end, he witnessed a shameless show. He resentfully retracted his hand that was about to accept the gift. I don't have any hope. Looking at the four of them, it was as if they could compete with him. This gift was definitely out of the question. But it's also possible that they were originally poor, that they probably don't have any presentable gifts. How can they compare to me? A handsome guy with 2 sleeves of gold and a hidden dragon. 7 o'clock sharp. Zhuo began to invite everyone to take their seats. He despised them in his heart. These 4 poor people who didn't give me any gifts deserve to eat? Zhuo felt that he was the one who didn't receive any gifts. You lost the ice soul to me. I didn't ask you for it. But you didn't even bring a cabbage to my house. How can you have the nerve to eat it? Therefore, a certain someone's face gradually turned ugly. Brother Bing, Zhuo said enthusiastically. Please sit. Haha, that ice soul, is it? Haha, time to get it to me? They hadn't even started eating yet, but this guy was already asking for the bill. He really couldn't wait and acted too hastily. Yun Xiaohu coughed and exchanged glances with Bai Xiaoduo. They both felt that. It was just right. He really had the demeanor of his father. If he waited until they were seated at the table and raised their wine glasses, he didn't know when he would be able to get down to business. What if one of them pretended to be drunk and forgot, passed out, or ran away? That would be troublesome. If they asked for the food before it was served, and the other party suddenly left because they had something to do, that would also be troublesome. It was now. The food was served. The table was served. He made a prompt decision. He immediately asked for the debt. His grasp of timing is superb, and his face is so thick. Cough, cough, but he actually laughed a few times. Haha, compared to Master, he is still lacking a little. Bing Xiaobing's face darkened. Is this necessary? It's not like I won't give it to you. Since I lost, I don't intend to go back on my word. Besides, I can't go back on my word. Haha, of course. Bing Xiaobing laughed dryly. Without hesitation, he raised his hand and handed over a silver-white space ring. Bing Xiaobing's expression was very strange. He seemed to be reluctant and had mixed emotions. It was as if he had finally found a home for his sister. In short, it was an extremely conflicted feeling. I hope you can find a good home for it. Bing Xiaobing sighed. It had been so many years. Ever since he obtained these 2 ice spirits, he had subdued one of them. The other one had always been resisting. No matter how he tried, no matter how much he tried, no matter how much he tried, no matter how much he took care of it, there was no improvement. It was like a beautiful woman who insisted on monogamy. Although you treat me well, you already have a wife. I can't be your concubine, nor can I be your mistress, much less your lover, so, no matter how good you are, I can only not cross the line and stick to my bottom line. I'd rather die alone and live an unlucky life. Bing Xiaobing had worked so hard for so many years and was in despair. Now that he had given it away, it was as if a burden had been lifted from his heart. I've stuffed it full of 10,000 years mysterious ice. Bing Xiaobing sighed. It's sleeping in the middle. You can check it out. Your extreme yang attribute has a natural counter to it. It's very weak now and can't take too much stimulation. Zhuo was overjoyed. Good. We're all open and above-board people. There's no need to check. No need. Haha, how can I not believe in Brother Bing's character? As he said that, he was still a little worried. He quietly opened the ring and took a look. Then, he kept it carefully and laughed. I definitely believe in Brother Bing's character. You're really strong. The 7 of them were speechless. You're really not embarrassed to say that. Come. Don't just stand there. Sit down. Zhuo Xiaoduo politely invited the guests. Xiaoduo, let me be your host today. Yin Xiaohu was worried that his junior brother would be taken advantage of. Thus, he took the initiative to be the host. At a banquet table, the host was very important, adjusting the atmosphere, taking care of the guests, looking around, and making the guests happy. All of these functions were to be the host. Sometimes, if it was necessary, he even had to say a few dirty jokes. Yun Xiaohu felt that he would be able to make these 4 misers of the Wizard Alliance sweat profusely if he were to accompany his junior brother. However, Zhuo Xiaoduo did not have much trust in him. How could he let him be the host? Besides, this kid looked so silly. Did he know how to speak sarcastically? To put it bluntly, Li Chenglong was worried that Zhou Xiaoduo would not have enough sarcasm, but thus he laughed and said, "Brother Yun, please sit down. You're a guest from afar. I'll be the host. Swollen, you could be the vice host." Yin Xiaohu could only agree. At the same time, he gave Yu Xiaoyu a look. "Later, help me mock these four fellows. They're so stingy. How could they call themselves great magi? They're really embarrassing themselves." Zhou Xiaoduo boldly took on the role of the host. First, he laughed and poured wine for everyone. Instantly, the aroma of the wine filled everyone's nostrils. He warmly invited everyone to drink some tea. Everyone was a little confused. This was the first time a guest was like this. The wine and dishes were all served. Instead of inviting them to eat, he invited them to drink tea. Then, they saw Zhou Xiaoduo suddenly laugh and raise his wine cup. Lai Xiaohua and the others thought that this guy was going to start drinking. They also raised their wine cups. Unexpectedly, Zhou Xiaoduo laughed and put down his wine cup. With a happy face, he said, "I'm not afraid of being laughed at. While I'm at home, my house is always full of friends. Many people often go to my house for dinner. But to be honest, this is the first time in my life that I'm sitting in this seat." "Ha!" The seven of them lowered their heads and drank tea. "How the hell would I believe you? Your house is always full of friends. Does your conscience hurt when you say this? Do you think we don't know about your father's rumor of plucking the feathers of a swallow, and the sky is 1 meter higher? Sitting here rashly today, I can't help but remember a joke my dad told me the other day," Zhou Xiaoduo said in all seriousness. Li Chenglong was the vice host. He asked, "What did Uncle say?" Chapter 693. The story goes like this. Zhou Xiaoduo described the story vividly. Once upon a time, there was an unusually generous person. Because he had many poor friends, many people went to his house to eat. This was something that couldn't be helped. Rich people are all like this. There are too many people who want to take advantage of him. As the saying goes, the poor live in the city and no one cares, while the rich have distant relatives in the mountains. Li Chenglong. Uncle, this is really well said. One sentence describes all the forms of life. It's really knowledgeable. Zhou Xiaoduo. In the beginning, when these poor friends went to the rich's house to eat, they would more or less bring something, so it could cover their faces. The rich naturally wouldn't care about what their poor friends brought, because no matter what they brought, it wouldn't be worth as much as a meal in their own house. So they didn't care. Li Chenglong. This is benevolence and righteousness. The so-called character, the so-called persistence, the so-called moral integrity, all of these are undoubtedly manifested in this rich man. Zhou Xiaoduo, Swollen is right. My father said the same thing at that time. Li Chenglong. Uncle and I are heroes who think alike. Zhou Xiaoduo. But this rich man also has a family. If it was just once, twice, 3 to 5 times, or even 8 to 10 times, his family wouldn't say anything. But after a long time, his family couldn't help but have some complaints. Li Chenglong. This is human nature. If it were me, I wouldn't be able to stand it either. And then, Yu Xiaoyu, Yin Xiaohu, and Bai Xiaoduo all held back their laughter. Lai Xiaohua, Shui Xiaoluo, Kong Xiaodan, and Bing Xiaobing's faces were dark. At this point, if they still couldn't guess what this guy wanted to do, their IQ would be very low. Zhou Xiaoduo became more and more excited as he spoke. So, this rich man beat around the bush and said that it was an honor for my brothers to come to my house for a meal. I shouldn't have said anything. But next time when you come, help me bring something, even if it's just an egg. That's still an honor, isn't it? Li Chenglong said, and then, this group of friends didn't respond. So the rich man said, "How about this? I'll hold a banquet at home tomorrow night, and I hope that everyone can come. Let's gain some face and have some fun." Then, the next day, before night fell, the rich man was already waiting at the door, because his wife made a bet with him that your friends would definitely come empty-handed. The rich man said, "I don't believe it." Madam said, "If you don't believe me, let's make a bet." The couple really made a bet. In the rich man's opinion, he had already made it so clear that he would definitely win this bet. He wanted to taste the taste of victory early, so he simply waited at the door. So, At around 6:30 p.m., my friends finally came. Xiaoduo laughed and said, I won't hide it from you guys. My arrival time is basically the same as yours. Pooh! Bai Xiaoduo immediately burst out laughing. She laughed so hard that her body trembled. The faces of Lai Xiaohua and the others were so dark that it was impossible to look at them. Bing Xiaobing gritted her teeth and said, and then, Xiaoduo laughed and said, when the rich man saw that, his first friend really came. So he went up and asked. Li Chenglong said, they came really quickly. Xiaoduo said, his friend is actually quite young, and he just found a wife. Their relationship is quite good, so he brings his wife everywhere he goes. Even when he freeloads, it's the same. Li Chenglong said enviously, even such a miser can find a wife. I'm really envious. However, I'm afraid that woman is blind. Lai Xiaohua and Xue Xiaoluo's faces were as dark as the bottom of a pot. Xiaoduo said, this friend's looks are very outstanding. He's smooth and shiny. Don't girls like this kind of by face the most? What's so important about it? Yes, because he's young. Everyone usually calls him young man. Yes, young man for short. Lai Xiaohua took a deep breath. Li Chenglong said, hey, do you even need to say it? Just tell us how he asked. Xiaoduo turned and looked at Lai Xiaohua. The rich man asked, young man, you brought your wife to my house for a meal. What did you bring for me? Ha 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 ha. Yu Xiaoyu slapped her thigh and was overjoyed. Yin Xiaohu and Bai Xiaoduo were convulsing with laughter. It was really too satisfying. Lai Xiaohua grabbed the drumstick in his hand and suddenly felt that the drumstick was no longer fragrant. It was tasteless, as if he was chewing rotten wood. Li Chenglong hurriedly played the role. What did the young man with his wife say? Xiaoduo said, this friend is really a wonderful person. He said that he came to my brother's house as a guest, and I brought a white cloud and a cool breeze for him. Li Chenglong turned and said to Lai Xiaohua, what a poetic scene. What a wonderful person. He clearly didn't bring anything, but he could still say it so pretentiously. What a talent. If not, how could he do what others can't? Lai Xiaohua's cheeks twitched. Xue Xiaoluo pinched her husband's thigh. It was so embarrassing for her to be with you today. Lai Xiaohua swore in his heart. The more you mock me, the more I won't give you anything. What else can you do other than say it out loud? Li Chenglong laughed. And then? Xiaoduo said. Then the rich man had no choice but to let the two of them in. He continued to wait, and then the second person came. As long as a friend brought a gift, the winner would still be him. Li Chenglong said, the second person also has a story? Xiaoduo said, yes, it's even better than the first person. This friend's family is very poor. He's a pauper, but he's also very good-looking. He's even more handsome than the previous young man. The skin on his face is so smooth, like a freshly peeled egg. Kong Xiaodan was speechless as she touched her smooth face. Xiaoduo continued, so everyone likes to call him Little Egg or Little Egg. Li Chenglong was enlightened. I see. How'd he ask the second question? Xiaoduo turned his head and said to Kong Xiaodan, the rich man asked, Little Egg, what did you bring to my house for dinner? The left and right heavenly kings, and Bai Xiaoduo laughed like crazy. Yun Xiaohu didn't have to worry about Xiaoduo taking care of him anymore. He was much better than him. This guy could definitely make a dead person jump up and down in his coffin. Kong Xiaodan's eyes widened, and her face turned red. Too mischievous. This bastard. Boss, what kind of godson did you take in? Even Lai Xiaohua and his wife, who were very depressed just now, burst out laughing. People, if they were the only unlucky one, they would be very angry because it was hard to get rid of the depression. But when they saw someone else with the same bad luck as them, they instantly felt better and had a way to vent their depression. They would even find it very funny. Lai Xiaohua and his wife were like that now. Li Chenglong, how did this little egg answer? Xiaoduo, this little egg said, brother, I don't have any money. My family has no money to spare, and I have nothing on me. I can only bring you white clouds and clear wind. Li Chenglong, but the guy in front already brought him. Xiaoduo, So the rich man said the same thing. Little Egg was a little embarrassed. So he said, I really don't have anything. I only brought 2 balls. Uff. The 2 women blushed and covered their mouths, while the 5 men tilted their heads and spat out a mouthful of wine on the ground, laughing so hard that they couldn't stop coughing. Li Qinglong also almost spat out his wine. After coughing for a while and calming down a little, he asked, and then, Zwa Xiaoduo. Of course, the rich man also let him in. After all, he brought 2 balls. So the rich man continued to wait for the third person. As long as the third person brought something, he still didn't lose. Bing Xiaobing's expression changed. Li Qinglong, what's so special about the third person? So Xiaoduo. The third person was a little pitiful. Not only was his family poor, but he was also sick all year round. So, everyone called him Little Sick. Li Qinglong shook his head. Poor guy. So Xiaoduo. After waiting anxiously, Little Sick finally came. Then the rich man went up and asked. Li Qinglong, what did he ask? So Xiaoduo turned his head and said to Bing Xiaobing. At this moment, Lai Xiaohua, Kong Xiaoyun, Xiaohu, Xiaoyu, Bai Xiaoduo, and Shui Xiaoluo all said to Bing Xiaobing at the same time. The rich man asked, Little Sick, you came to my house to eat? What did you bring me? Bing Xiaobing was speechless. Out of all of them, it seemed like he was the only one who brought something. Okay? Although he lost it, Zwa Xiaoduo said with a straight face. Silence. Li Qinglong. How did this little sick answer? Zwa Xiaoduo said, This little sickly one is much more practical. He replied, Big brother, I only have this pair of shoulders that still have some strength, so I carry my head over for you. Ha 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 ha. He brought you a head. Everyone at the scene laughed like crazy. Bing Xiaobing's face darkened for a moment, but he also laughed. This little bastard was really good at mocking others. In an instant, the laughter shook the sky. People were so strange. If only one person was mocked in front of so many people, it would be a lifelong feud that would be difficult to resolve. But now that a few people were mocked in succession, everyone took it as a joke and laughed it off. Although she was still angry, she felt happy after being angry for a while. So Xiaoduo laughed and then said, The 4 of you, haha, it's just a story, a topic of conversation at the dinner table. I'm not talking about the 4 of you. Don't think too much about it. Let's talk about it. This joke can be laughed at for a lifetime. Uff. You see how you turned her head and spat a mouthful of tea on Yun Xiaohu's face. I don't know if others can laugh for a lifetime, but I can laugh for a lifetime that the others were even more amused. Lai Xiaohua, Shui Xiaoluo, Kong Xiaodian, and Bing Xiaobing looked at Zwa Xiaoduo with a strange light in their eyes. They were angry and amused at the same time. They really understood their boss's godson now. This kid seemed to be born with a kind of temperament. Cheap. And this kind of cheap was not the kind that made people want to beat him to death, but the kind that they only wanted to beat him up viciously 8 times a day. As long as he was not beaten to death, they would beat him up viciously. To be honest, he was very different from his father in this aspect. With his father's temper, his opponents only wanted to beat him to death. But this kid was so cheap that people wanted to beat him up again and again, but they could not bear to beat him to death. These were 2 completely different realms. And just as the laughter shook the sky, a car slowly came from outside and stopped in front of the villa. Cough. Please. Monthly votes. Chapter 694. They didn't pay much attention to the car parked outside. Wasn't it normal for a car to come and go in a modern city? So Xiaoduo didn't mind at all. Gao Xiao, and Gao Chengxiang often parked at the entrance, so they were used to it. Plus, at this time, they usually didn't come to find them. 1 out of 10 times, they came to ask for directions. It shouldn't have anything to do with us. So Xiaoduo laughed heartily. After the joke, his mood improved as he didn't receive any gifts. He squinted his eyes. Let's continue drinking. Let's continue. However, Yu Dongtian and the rest sensed that something was wrong. It seemed like someone was talking and then paying and then taking the luggage out of the trunk. Then, footsteps sounded from the main door. With a squeak, the main door was pushed open. They really came to my house. Zhui Xiaoduo was puzzled. Who is it? Why did they come at this time? Lai Xiaohua, Yu Dongtian, and the rest were already bewildered, because each and every one of them felt a familiar, yet extremely strange feeling. At this time, a joyful voice came from outside. Gu! Oh my god! Zhui Xiaoduo jumped up in joy. It's actually my mom. He rushed out, like a whirlwind. Yu Dongtian, who had just stood up, sat back down. His face turned ghastly white. Fuck! Lai Xiaohua, his wife, Kong Xiaobing, and Xiaobing turned to run out, but they remembered that they were in the villa and looked at the window. However, Yun Xiaohu and Bai Xiaoduo had already spread out their hands and pressed down on their shoulders. Each of them held down 2 people and pushed the 4 of them back to their seats, saying, "Don't move." Lai Xiaohua looked at Yu Xiaoyu in despair. You fucking tricked me. When he looked over, he saw that Yu Xiaoyu's face was also covered in cold sweat. She seemed to be even more afraid than he was. He revealed a smile that was uglier than crying. Tricking you? Do I need to sacrifice myself? Lai Xiaohua was so anxious that acne appeared on his face. He said angrily, "What are you afraid of? It's understandable that we're afraid. But what is a heavenly king of the right afraid of? You're his nephew." Yu Xiaoyu coughed and quickly checked her spatial ring. A smile appeared on Bai Xiaoduo's gentle face. What a coincidence. He had a gloating look on his face. If you guys had brought a greeting gift just now, you might have been able to say something. But now, ha ha ha. I'll teach you not to give. Let's see what you can do. Lai Xiaohua and the others looked as if they had lost their parents. We don't want such a coincidence. I want to leave, but now that he was pinned down, he couldn't move even if he wanted to. For a moment, there was nothing he could do, and his mind went blank. Who can save me? In the courtyard, a gentle voice mixed with infinite doting said, Damn, why does it seem like there's a dinner party tonight? He sniffed and said, The smell of alcohol is so strong. Zhui Xiaoduo's voice was filled with flattery. Mom, there are no outsiders. They're all my classmates who are gathering here. Speaking of which, this is the first time we're having a drinking party. It's really a coincidence that the 2 of you are able to meet each other the first time. A gentle voice said, Oh, a dinner party between classmates? Then it's fine. Your mom and I will go in and clean up. You guys can have your dinner. Don't worry about us. We're the ones who are messing things up. Zhui Xiaoduo's voice sounded. How can that be? Dad, it's not easy for you to come. We've just started and haven't even touched our chopsticks. I've never been the main hostess since I was young, and I don't know how to do this. Now that you're here, you could be the main hostess. And teach me. Zhui Chonglu's voice was hesitant. This isn't very appropriate. In the room, the UMNO Alliance members put their hands together and prayed. Yes, it's not appropriate. Hurry up and leave. It's too inappropriate. Hurry up and clean up. Zhui Xiaoduo, hurry up and get your dad out of here. Hey, Mom, let me carry it. Why is there such a big suitcase? Dad, what's wrong with it? We're all juniors. Isn't it good that you're here? Then the door opened. Zhui Xiaoduo pretended to carry a huge suitcase with both hands. He pretended to be out of breath as he carried it in. At this moment, everyone just wanted to beat this kid to death with a few punches and kicks. You're almost strong enough to lift a mountain now. How can you be so tired carrying a suitcase? In both hands at the same time. He's really good at pretending to be obedient in front of his mom. The door opened. Light shone through. Zhui Chonglu and Wu Yuding instantly saw the 7 people standing in a daze inside. They couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. Even with their cultivation level and temperament, they were still a little dazed. I'm not mistaken, am I? My son's brothers of the same generation. Why? Why do they all look so familiar? Zhui Zhonglu and Wu Yuding revealed a puzzled look. They couldn't have made a mistake, right? They looked at each other subconsciously and saw the same puzzled look in each other's eyes. Without any hesitation, the 2 of them took 2 quick steps forward and entered the entrance hall in 1 step. Then they saw the different expressions on the 7 faces at close range. Yu Dongtian looked as if he wanted to drill onto the table. Yun Xiaohu and his wife were pleasantly surprised and excited. And Lai Xiaohua and his wife were embarrassed because they didn't know where to put their hands and feet. Kong Xiaodan and Bing Xiaobing's four eyeballs were about to fly out of their heads. And Li Chenglong, who was pleasantly surprised from the bottom of his heart. Uncle Zhua, Auntie Zhua, why are you here? That's great, that's great. Good, good, good. Zhua Chonglu smiled like a spring breeze. He walked in with his long legs and laughed. Xiao Duo, are these your brothers of the same generation? Wu Yuting also came in. She smiled strangely and said, they're also two young ladies. These two young ladies are really pretty. Lai Xiaohua and the others, they stood there one by one. At this moment, they really felt like the universe had exploded in front of their eyes. A chicken claw in Lai Xiaohua's mouth fell out with a clatter. Fortunately, his reaction was fast enough. He immediately lowered his head and used his mouth to pick up the chicken claw. Then he unconsciously chewed it and swallowed it down along with the skin and bones. Not bad, not bad. Zhua Chonglu looked like an elder. He smiled kindly and looked at them one by one. He sighed. They're all talented people. Xiao Duo, your friends of the same generation are not bad. Zhua Xiao Duo chuckled, but his heart was filled with worry. Dad obviously didn't know the situation. Our table is very complicated. Those four are from the Umno Alliance. These three are from the Astral Souls. They are all experts and geniuses. Dad was once a transcendent, but his cultivation was gone now. Would he be able to handle it? He saw Zhua Zhonglu walking over with a smile on his face. Yun Xiaohu and Bai Xiaoduo nimbly moved their chairs aside and opened up a path to the host and hostess seats. Yun Xiaoduo casually pushed the stiffened Yu Xiaoyu to the side. Then, Zhua Chonglu sat in the seat that Zhua Xiaoduo was originally sitting in. Then he chuckled, damn it. Lai Xiaohua and the others immediately felt hurt. You scolded us the moment you came up. What are you trying to do? But he heard Wu Yuting immediately reply, what? Lai Xiaohua and the others lowered their heads. I see that this was a form of address. That was how people with children addressed each other. Why don't you pack up later? There are so many children here, and all of them are so young and promising. Now that they are at our house, we can have a meal together. It's a good time to be lively. Zhua Zhonglu Xuan said elegantly. Wu Yuting nodded. Okay. She ordered, Xiao Duo, put the suitcase aside and come eat. Okay. Zhua Xiaoduo was even more confused. He put the suitcase behind the sofa and came over to add a few more chairs. As a result, his current position had changed, and it had changed completely. There were two seats for the host and hostess, Zhua Chonglu and Wu Yuting. Main guest, Lai Xiaohua. Assistant guest, Kong Xiaodan. Assistant guest, Zhua Xiaoduo, mainly responsible for pouring wine. Third and fourth guests, Yun Xiaohu by Xiaoduo. Third and fourth guests, Shui Xiaoluo, Bing Xiaobing. Fifth and sixth guests, Yu Xiaoyu, Li Chenglong. It was a standard Astral Souls mainland drinking game. Take a seat, take a seat. Zhua Chonglu's attitude was very friendly. He was at ease at the table. It was obvious that he was a veteran who had been tested by alcohol. Why are you being so polite? Since you're friends with my son, you're my juniors. Since you're my juniors, why are you not listening? Uncle asked you to sit, so sit. Why are you being so polite? Lai Xiaohua sat straight on the chair. It felt as if he was sitting on a mountain of knives. I don't want to live anymore. I am one generation younger. Shui Xiaoluo, Kong Xiaodan, and Bing Xiaobing also sat down without knowing what was under their butts. To be honest, the three of them were still in a state of confusion. Their eyes were shining. The chaos in their minds had just begun that they really didn't understand. What was going on today? Why did the situation suddenly take a turn for the worse? How did it get out of hand out on the other side? Yu Xiaoyu and Yun Xiaohu were much more natural. They had already sat down. The only difference was that Yu Xiaoyu carefully sat with half her buttocks on the other half of the chair. She looked like she didn't dare to look, didn't dare to listen, didn't dare to say, and wasn't moved. On the other hand, Yun Xiaohu and his wife sat very comfortably. Ever since Zhua Chonglu came in, as Zhua Zhonglu and his wife sat down, Bai Xiaohua's mouth didn't stop moving. Although she didn't make any sound, she told Zhua Zhonglu everything that had happened that night through telepathy at the speed of a machine gun, especially when she mentioned that they didn't bring any gifts. Bai Xiaoduo was very angry. Zhou Changlu received the guests and smiled at each of them. He also listened attentively to Bai Xiaoduo's report. Then, he nodded to show that he understood. Then he smiled and said, "Today is a good day." Chapter 695. Zhou Changlu looked at everyone with a smile. His face was like jade, and his elegant temperament was admirable at first sight. He was graceful and at ease. Sitting in the main seat, he was as deep as the abyss and as vast as the sea. When people saw him, they couldn't help but praise him from the bottom of their hearts. This is a true gentleman, gentle as jade. Lai Xiaohua and the others looked at Zhou Changlu's elegance, but their gazes were strange. It was as if they were looking at the legendary giant Kuan opening its mouth to swallow the sky. Zhou Changlu laughed. "We came from afar to visit our son who is studying abroad, but we really did not expect that we would be like this today. Ha, full house." Zhou Changlu emphasized the words full of distinguished friends. Ha, Bai Xiaoduo laughed for a while, then stopped. There was nothing wrong with this sentence in itself. This was truly a full house of distinguished guests. Even if anyone from the 3 continents came to look at this table, they could only agree with it and could not say anything against it. Moreover, other than the adjective full of distinguished guests, he couldn't think of a more appropriate description. Since this idiom was used at this banquet, it was the right place to use it. Very happy, very happy. Zhou Changlu was very emotional. As a parent, I want to see my son do well. And where can I see my son doing well? You can see it from the friends he makes. If his friends are all successful, his son will definitely be successful. Yu Xiaoyu looked embarrassed. Lai Xiaohua forced himself to calm down and rolled his eyes. This old man had been holding back for a long time, hadn't he? He could finally let go today. Look at how smug he was. Now that I see all of you, I can say that my heart has been hanging in the air for a long time. Zhou Zhonglu sighed and said, "With friends like you, my son will definitely become better and better in the future through getting along with you. He will gradually become a real gentleman, a noble person, a pure person, a person with morals, and a person who is free from vulgar interests." Cough, cough, cough. Kong Xiaodan coughed repeatedly. I can't take it anymore. Your son is about to surpass his father. The 4 types of people that you mentioned have nothing to do with him at all. You're right. This is the greatest pride of a parent. Zhou Changlu's face was filled with relief. He looked at the Laihua couple, Kong Xiaodan and Bing Xiaobing lovingly. You are all good children. His loving gaze swept back and forth. The 4 people's faces turned green and white. I want to fuck your grandpa, can I? That's enough, Master Zhou. If you continue, you'll be going overboard. However, Zhou Changlu obviously did not intend to let it go so easily. He continued to sigh. You are all young talents. I still don't know your names. Yes? Dad. Zhou Xiao Duo already felt that the atmosphere was a bit strange, and something was wrong. He hurriedly stood up and introduced, the red-haired one sitting beside you is called Lai Xiaohua, and this is his wife, Shui Xiaoluo. Zhou Changlu looked kindly at Lai Xiaohua. Red-haired, your name is not bad. It's rare. In the future, you must cherish your wife. After all, it's not easy to find a wife in this day and age, especially a red-haired one like you. You look like a delinquent. You're already like this, but your wife is still willing to be with you. That's rare. Zhou Changlu spoke in the tone of an elder. Ha! Yin Xiaohu and Bai Xiaoduo could not help but laugh. Lai Xiaohua's face was red. He wanted to strangle Zhou Changlu, but he could only stutter, yes, yes. Zhou Zhonglu smiled faintly. Then, he said in an elegant manner, actually, I shouldn't say this, but I can't help but say it out loud. Xiaohua, you should find some time to dye your hair back. You don't look mature at all. Moreover, the society is very chaotic these days. So, there are a lot of temptations for young people, especially gambling and such. Xiaohua, you must remember to stay away from gambling in the future. He looked carefully at Lai Xiaohua's face and said, Look, your face is not very good. You're easily impulsive. Once you're impulsive, you'll lose your mind easily. If your wife is won by someone else, it won't be good. If you lose, Your wife can only go back on her word. But going back on her word is even worse. Lai Xiaohua felt as if he had swallowed a piece of burning coal in his throat. He could neither swallow nor spit it out. He looked extremely pitiful. Shui Xiaoluo bit her lips and used her chopsticks to stab a fish in front of her. Half of the fish's body was smashed into pieces. She did not know whether she was stabbing Zhuo Changlu or Lai Xiaohua in her heart. This is a very handsome guy on my mother's side. He's called Kong Xiaodian. This is Bing Xiaobing. They're both. Zhuo Xiaoduo thought for a while and said, they're all friends from far away. He could not say that they were from the Umno Alliance. It would be best if his father did not know. If he knew, he would be worried to death. From far away? Not bad, not bad. Isn't it a joy to have friends from far away? Zhuo Changlu said, then looked at Kong Xiaodian and said kindly, Xiaodian. Kong Xiaodian. Cough, 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 cough. He turned to look at Bing Xiaobing. Xiaobing? His tone was very strange. Bing Xiaobing. Cough, cough. Cough, cough. Yes, cough, 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 cough. Zhuo Changlu and Wu Yuding almost burst out laughing. The husband and wife truly felt that their son's banquet today was really too interesting. What was even more interesting was that the husband and wife had come at the right time. Since they had met, they would definitely play for a while longer. If they finished playing in a while, they would be letting themselves down. Zhuo Changlu and Wu Yuding were completely sure that this kind of thing would only happen once in their lives. There would definitely not be a next time. After this time, they would definitely run as far away as possible. And today, they could play to their heart's content without any scruples. Lai Xiaohua and the others did not dare to reveal their identities. If their identities were not exposed, then it would only be a small circle of people. Their faces could still hold on. If their identities were exposed on the spot, then when it was announced on the continent, the few great shamans would not be able to live anymore. Not to mention bullying the weak, pretending to be someone's son's peer, and then being caught red-handed by the Sky Patrol minister could be written into the textbooks. In the future, generations of people would be overjoyed to see it. Who could afford to lose face like that? This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, an unprecedented and unparalleled drinking party since the beginning of time. This was really a blessing from the heavenly official. Although Lai Xiaohua and the others had changed their appearance and even their body shape, how could Zhuo Changlu and Wu Yuding, who had been fighting with them for thousands of years, not recognize their real bodies? It was not an exaggeration to say that even if these people were broken into pieces and only had a few bones left, Zhuo Changlu would still be able to recognize which bone was Lai Xiaohua's and which bone was Bing Ming's. Zhuo Changlu even dared to make a promise like, I will run around the world naked if I recognize the wrong bone. Why are all of you so restrained? Zhuo Changlu was a little dissatisfied and said, since we are at home, then we are family. Why are you so restrained? Zhuo Xiaoduo also felt that these people were a little restrained and were not as relaxed as before. He said, yes, don't treat yourself as an outsider. My parents are very easy to talk to. You don't have to be so restrained. Easy to talk to? Their hearts were already in a state of turmoil. Yes, we know that he is easy to talk to. But what we know is different from what you know. Zhuo Changlu said gently, you are all dragons and phoenixes among men. But since you are of the same generation as my son, then you should call me Uncle Zhuo. Uncle Zhuo. Lai Xiaohua and the others wanted to escape immediately. Damn it, he wants to call you uncle? If we really call you that, how can we raise our heads and face people? Zhuo Changlu narrowed his eyes and said, now that Xiao Duo has grown up, we husband and wife will be very free in the future and plan to walk around. Maybe we can even pass by your hometown. When the time comes, we will invite some newspapers and television stations to publicize it. Newspapers and television stations? Lai Xiaohua and the others were dumbfounded. This was a naked threat. Do you have to be so ruthless? Zhuo Changlu smiled and said to Yu Xiaoyu, don't you think so? You are called Xiaoyu? He gave her a look. Demonstrate. Yu Xiaoyu understood and immediately stood up. She said respectfully, Uncle Zhuo is right. We are of the same generation as Xiao Duo. Of course we have to listen to your teachings. Hello, Uncle Zhuo and Zhuo. Her greeting was crisp and clear, with a sense of familiarity. Yu Xiaoyu smiled and said, I will set an example for them, so that they won't feel embarrassed. After that, she nodded and bowed deeply. She looked like a pug and called again, Hello, Uncle Zua. Hello, Aunt Zua. This time, she said it even louder. Lai Xiaohua, Kong Xiaodian, and the others stared at Yu Dantian with a face full of curses. You motherfucker. Why don't you go fuck yourself? You can call them Uncle Zua and Aunt Zua with a clear conscience, because you should be calling them Uncle Zua and Aunt Zua. But how can we be the same? Are you fucking embarrassed? Who would be embarrassed? Is this something to be embarrassed about? You are called. Zhuo Changlu looked at Yun Xiaohu and Bai Xiaoduo. The husband and wife stood up and bowed deeply. Greetings, Uncle Zua and Zua. We wish you good health and longevity. Zhuo Changlu laughed and praised. Good. Yun Xiaohu and his wife sat down, looking excited. Hearing the word good was like hearing the highest reward. Zhuo Changlu and his wife smiled and turned to look at Lai Xiaohua, Bing Xiaobing, and Kong Xiaodian. Their faces were full of anticipation and kindness. Their meaning could not be more obvious. The three of them already called them Uncle Zua and Aunt Zua. Shouldn't the four of you do the same? Chapter 696. Lai Xiaohua was already trembling all over. This is bullying. This is blatant bullying. These three, one is your nephew, one is your disciple, and the last one is your disciple's wife. No matter how respectful they are to you, no matter how much they treat you, isn't it only natural? Don't talk about calling you uncle. Even if they call you father, you won't find it strange. But what about us? We are of the same generation as you, okay? This bastard is using this as a pretext to make a fuss. Are you done yet? So Xiaoduo obviously didn't know what was going on. He laughed and said, Aya, what a big deal. When I see your parents in the future, don't I have to bow to them too? This is very normal. Bow to them? Lai Xiaohua and the others looked at Zhuo Xiaoduo and cursed in their hearts. You are indeed your father's son. Wasn't this genetic inheritance too good? Lai Xiaohua and the others looked at Zhuo Xiaoduo strangely. They really wanted to beat this brat into meat paste. Holy shit, are you really that innocent? Or are you just pretending? Bow to them. What are you thinking? We were just bored and came to visit boss's godson on his behalf. But after we came, one thing got worse than the other. First, we sent our own spies back. So many years of hard work from sending spies all turned into water. Then we lost an ice soul and even 10% of the resources from the spatial ruin. In the end, everything was over. We came to have a meal, but we ended up being a generation younger than them. We really met a ghost today, and we met two of them at once. The four of them were so regretful that their intestines were turning green. Then why did we come this time? To eat chicken? Yu Xiaoyu was laughing so hard that her intestines were about to break, but her face was serious. She frowned and urged Lai Xiaohua, Bing Xiaobing, Kong Xiaodian, hurry up and greet Uncle Zua and Aunt Zua. Yun Xiaohu and Bai Xiaoduo also hurried them. Zhang Lu and Wu Yuding were waiting with a kind look on their faces. Lai Xiaohua was about to explode. His entire body suddenly turned red. Shui Xiaoluo hurriedly held him down and shook her head. Are you crazy? Was he going to send him back to complete his transformation? What's more, do you want a whole continent to know that we've lost so much? You may be shameless, but I am Shui Xiaoluo forced a smile and said to Wu Yuding, this. Although we look young, we're actually not that young. You see, as he spoke, he winked at her. She tugged at Wu Yuding's sleeves with both hands and shook them, with a pleading look on her face. Wu Yuding sighed, thinking that it was about time to force Lai Hua and the rest to such a state. Wu Yuding said gracefully, Dad, forget it. The children are not young anymore. Besides, his wife is planning to give me something. Shui Xiaoluo was dumbfounded. Who? Who said I was going to give you something? But who would dare to say no now? Wu Yuding was pleading for them. If they said no, then they would definitely be called Uncle Zua and Aunt Zua today. Obviously, this was the price to pay for pleading. After Wu Yuding finished speaking, he looked at Shui Xiaoluo. Shui Xiaoluo hurriedly nodded like a chick pecking at rice. I'll give whatever you say. Let's get through this first. Of course, Zhuo Zhonglu didn't want Lai Hua and the others to call him uncle. He knew in his heart that even if he forced the four of them out tonight, they would never call him uncle. So this was just a strategy to ensure that he had the upper hand. Now, he clearly understood that he was already in control of the universe. Let's see who dares to provoke him. Let's try. Zhuo Changlu let out a long laugh. I'm just joking, just joking. Ha ha ha, you've come to my place. Don't be shy, don't be shy. Come, let's eat. Lai Hua and the rest finally let out a long sigh of relief. Oh my God, I almost had a brain hemorrhage just now. I have to exercise my responsibility as the host. Zhuo Changlu was natural and generous. As he spoke, he lovingly gave Lai Hua a piece of chicken kidney. Red hair, eat more of this. This is good. It's good for your kidney. I originally wanted to say that you're young and don't know how to control yourself. Since you're old and experienced, I won't say much. Look at your bent back now. Don't try to be brave in everything. You're a man. When it's time to say no, you have to say no. Lai Hua stuffed the chicken kidney into his mouth and chewed hard. His expression was ferocious as he chewed very hard. Nourish your sister. You're the one with a weak kidney. You're the one with a bent back. You're the one who can't do it. Your whole family can't do it. Xiaodian, you have to eat more of this. Zhuo Changlu gave Kong Xiaodian a piece of chive. This is good. This can strengthen your sex drive. Look at your physique. When you grow up, it'll be difficult to find a wife. Take this while you're still young. Kong Xiaodian stuffed it into her mouth and chewed loudly. She imagined that she was chewing Zhuo Changlu. You're the one who needs sex drive. Your whole family needs sex drive. The old and the young all need sex drive. Make sure you're strong. Ha ha ha, Xiaobing, come. Zhuo Changlu picked up a piece of chicken heart. As the saying goes, what you eat is what you nourish. It's just right for you to eat. Bing Xiaobing stared at him. Are you saying that I'm stupid? Looking at the chicken heart on the plate, Bing Xiaobing closed her eyes and swallowed it. I'm not chewing. I'm going to eat it raw. One day I'll swallow you whole, just like how I swallowed a chicken's heart. You son of a bitch. Zhuo Changlu picked up another piece of fish eye for you, Xiaoyu. Xiaoyu, you've done well. You're Aunt Zhuo, and I have to think highly of you now. You Xiaoyu almost slid under the chair. Please don't think highly of me. I'm scared. Looking at the huge fish eyes on the plate, which seemed to be staring at her, Yu Xiaoyu started to tremble. Eat. Zhuo Changlu called out to Yin Xiaohu and Bai Xiaoduo. You two eat. It's too far for me to reach. I won't give you any more food. Thank you, Uncle Zhuo. Yin Xiaohu and Bai Xiaoduo thanked him in unison. Right now, only the two of them could eat without worry. Then Zhuo Changlu raised his cup. You're at my house. Let's raise our cups together. Tonight is unforgettable. Don't forget tonight. Lai Xiaohua and the others have been wanting to drink for a long time. They hurriedly raised their cups. They finally started drinking. Damn, they raised their cups twice and didn't drink a single mouthful. Your son raised it and put it down. In the end, he told us a story that they were about to drink. However, Zhonglu laughed heartily and put down his glass. His laughter was very joyous. Speaking of which, I shouldn't have laughed. But I can't laugh without talking about it. Your names remind me of a story. A very interesting story. I can't help but spit it out. Yu Xiaoyu almost spat out the fish eyes she was chewing. She started to choke. Lai Xiaohua and the others held their cups, despair written all over their faces. What are you doing now? Don't be in a hurry to drink. Don't be in a hurry to drink while listening to this story. Otherwise, you'll choke. Zhuo Changlu laughed very happily. This is a story about a rich man's treat. It's very interesting and creative. Ha ha ha. I'll live on this joke for the rest of my life. Let me tell you. This time, even Zui Xiaoduo couldn't help but choke. Li Qinglong lowered his head and hurriedly put down his cup. He laughed so hard that his entire body rippled. If he didn't put down his cup, the wine would definitely spill. Lai Xiaohua and the others were in despair. Damn, this was really a family tradition. So forcing him to call him uncle was to pave the way for this? The older the ginger, the spicier it was. This Zhuo Changlu was much more cunning than his son, that Yin Xiaohu and Bai Xiaoduo were also trembling, but they forced themselves to hold it in. Yun Xiaohu even played the role of the supporting actor. Uncle's, well, what's the story? How interesting and creative is it? So Changlu looked at him with admiration and said, once upon a time, there was an unusually generous person. Because he had more poor friends, there were more people who went to eat at his house. This couldn't be helped. It's like this when you're rich. As the saying goes, the poor live in the downtown area and no one cares, but the rich have distant relatives in the deep mountains. Yun Xiaohu said, Uncle's words are full of life, philosophy, and worldly sentiments. Lai Xiaohua and the others had a splitting headache. They even wanted to die. As expected. As expected. Fuck, do they have to listen to this fucking story again? When Xiaoduo was telling it, they could still play dumb and act dumb. But now, it seemed like they couldn't anymore. Their statuses were completely equal, and the other party even surpassed them, if they were asked, young man, you came to my house to eat. What did you bring for me? That would be really embarrassing. On the other side, Zhou Chonglu smoothly told the story, and Yin Xiaohu skillfully played the supporting actor. How could he not be familiar with it after hearing it just once? With Li Chenglong's example, Yin Xiaohu, who had been here twice, would be unreasonable if he didn't praise him to perfection. Even Zhou Chonglu was surprised. Why was this disciple's brain so good today? He wasn't usually this quick-witted. When he got to the part where he said, this poor friend is young and has just found a wife. It's a young man, so everyone calls him young man. Lai Xiaohua suddenly stood up, his face solemn and stirring as he said, about this, I'm ashamed to say that I took the liberty to visit this time. I really don't have anything with me. Luckily, I suddenly remembered that I brought some gifts for students of Xiaoduo before I came. I almost forgot. Bai Xiaoduo curled her lips. You have the nerve to say that. You almost forgot. Haha, if my master didn't come, you really would have forgotten, right? Zhou Chonglu frowned and said, I don't accept gifts. He said, Lai Xiaohua, sigh, you don't have to be like this. I'm just telling a story. I'm not talking about you. So Chonglu said, you can't take it too personally. This is the life principle that I've summed up over the years. Lai Xiaohua choked on his anger. I really want to spit on your face. If I don't stand up and turn myself in now, you're going to point at my nose and start scolding me. You're still talking about me. Chapter 697. The UMNO Alliance members were filled with emotions. Sure enough, like father, like son, and vice versa. His family's profound knowledge was not deceiving him. No, this is a necessary etiquette. This etiquette cannot be ignored. How can you come to a friend's house empty-handed? Lai Xiaohua said with a serious face. As he spoke, he took out a jar of wine and said, this is a wine brewed by me, my boss, and 2 brothers. Fire and water do not mix. This jar of wine. Wu Yuting snorted, her face full of dissatisfaction. What did Lai Hua mean? Take this wine? But Lai Hua had already taken out the wine. Obviously, he would not give it to her if she wanted anything else. Hence, Wu Yuting's eyes lit up and said, this wine jar is really exquisite. Kong Xiaodan and the rest rolled their eyes. Really exquisite? What did she mean? It was too small. Too little. Bing Xiaobing gloated. Yes, it's really exquisite. TSK, it's just a little small. Lai Hua's face darkened. He looked at Bing Xiaobing with Xiaoluo, as if he wanted to eat him. Brother-in-law, what are you doing? Which side are you on? Bing Xiaobing coughed and lowered his head. He really did not do it on purpose. It was just that he could not control his gloating temper, and it suddenly flared up just now, But after he said this, Lai Hua could not take it anymore. Even his own people said that it was too little. Lai Hua gritted his teeth and took out another 6 jars. He looked like he was about to cry. We came out in a hurry this time and really did not bring much. We only brought these. It can be considered as a small token of our appreciation. I hope the owner will not mind. He really did not lie. He really only brought 6 jars of this wine. He really took out all of them. Wu Yuting smiled faintly, looking very graceful and elegant. She secretly glared at Lai Hua. How dare you give my son this kind of wine? Just you wait. She said, Xiao Duo, why don't you thank your brother Lai for the wine? Brother Lai. Lai Xiaohua's face twisted. Can you let him call you Uncle Lai? Zhou Xiao's mouth was very sweet. Thank you, Brother Lai. He was finally satisfied. There were benefits in his hands. Even if it was only 6 jars of wine, it was still not easy for this guy to take them out. Looking at Brother Lai's pained look, this wine should be good. That was the name. TSK. Water and fire don't mix well. You guys are so fucking cultured. I just want to know if you guys know what fire and water are incompatible means. So Xiaoduo also felt a little strange. I'm telling the same story. Why don't you give it to me? My dad hasn't even finished speaking, and you've already given it to him. What's going on? Kong Xiaodan couldn't sit still any longer. She stood up as well. I brought something for students before I came. Wu Yuting interrupted with a smile. A little spatial soil? She had learned her lesson. She could not let these guys speak first. Kong Xiaodan's face changed all of a sudden, cold sweat seeping out from her forehead. Damn it, spatial soil. How much do I have in total? Now you want me to give it to your son? This was a spatial treasure that could open up mountains and rivers. I can't even bear to use it when I'm bored. It was only occasionally used when I tore space apart. You want it just like that? Where's your shame? Wu Yuting smiled and said, Xiaodan, it's okay if you don't have a gift. We're all family. As the elders actually came out again. This was blatant coercion. Kong Xiaodan made up her mind and hurriedly said, yes, a little spatial soil. But it's really not much. Only half a gram. Don't think it's too little. She wiped her sweat. Hee. Half a gram. Who can use such little? Bing Xiaobing slapped his own mouth after saying that. Fuck, now's not the time to gloat. I have to control it. Kong Xiaodan looked at Bing Xiaobing with grief and indignation. It's really worth it to have a brother like you in this life. She panted heavily and gritted her teeth. Only half a gram left. Do you want to add some? Bing Xiaobing lowered his head and drank water. He looked embarrassed. I didn't do it on purpose, Brother Dan. I'm just used to it. Kong Xiaodan glared at Bing Xiaobing and panted for a long time. Finally, she took out a ring and stuffed it into Zhou Xiaoduo's hands. Wu Yuting rolled her eyes. Obviously, she thought it was too little. However, Zhou Chenglu hurriedly gave her a look. That's enough. Don't push him too hard. If you push him too hard, he'll run away. If he wants to run away, we can't do anything to him. She could only say reluctantly, all right, Xiaoduo. Quickly thank you, Brother Kong. The gift is light, but the thought is heavy. Thank you, Brother Kong. So Xiaoduo did not know what this thing was. She said sweetly and took the ring. Then, she threw it into her own spatial ring. Kong Xiaodan's face darkened. She had already taken out the spatial soil, and you said the gift is light, but the thought is heavy. Was it light? Was this gift really light? If it's so light, why don't you give me some? Zhou Chenglu looked at Bing Xiaobing and smiled. Xiaobing. Bing Xiaobing's face was full of sadness. I really don't have anything left. I even gave out the ice soul. Moreover, I just gave it out. If I had known, I would have given it out earlier. In the end. Now, he only gave one, but I have to give 2. Lai Xiao said cheerfully. Xiaobing has some good stuff. Kong Xiaodan also said sarcastically. Xiaobing has always been the most generous. He must have some good stuff. Bing Xiaobing looked at the two of them in anger. The two of them looked up at the sky. Do you think you're the only one who knows how to make sarcastic remarks? Do you think you feel good when you gloat? Look at how cheap you are. You're almost as cheap as that Zhugai. If I don't teach you a lesson, you'll think we're easy to bully. Xue Xiaoluo also snorted. Xiaobing's family is rich. When the family split up, his sister didn't get anything. His parents gave everything to him. You're so biased. Stop. Bing Xiaobing raised his hands in anger. Then, he put on a bitter face and begged. I really don't have anything left. I only have a lot of prehistoric black ice left. If you want, I can give you more. Wu Yuting's eyes lit up. She chuckled and said, everything is a gift from heart. Why are you being picky? A few dozen cubic meters should be enough. It's hot in the summer. It's not bad to store more ice. Bing Xiaobing almost vomited blood. A few dozen cubic meters? Do you think this is concrete? I really don't have that much. Bing Xiaobing opened his ring and looked at it. He said with a sad face, I have less than 8 cubic meters. Wu Yuting said. Xiao Duo, quickly thank you, Brother Bing. You know how to send a goose feather from 1,000 miles away? Thank you, Brother Bing, was Xiao Duo said sweetly. Then, she stretched out her white and tender hand. Bing Xiaobing was a little confused. I didn't say how much I was going to give, right? You're thanking me just like that? I wanted to say, I have less than 8 cubic meters. I'll give you 2 cubic meters. 2 cubic meters is a lot, okay? This is prehistoric Xian ice. It's not the usual Xian ice. But before I could finish, she was already sending a goose feather from 1,000 miles away. 8 cubic meters. Wu Yuting began to look for a reference. How big is it? Is it half the size of this living room? It can't be, right? That's not much. What can it do? Lai Xiao was said. That's right. What's the use of this broken thing? Kong Xiaodan. Bing Xiaobing reached out and covered Kong Xiaodan's mouth. Brother, don't say any more. Be ruthless. Just give it to her. I'll go back and get more tea side and threw out another ring. So Xiao Duo happily took it and threw it into her space. Zhui Changlu laughed. Not bad. Today, the host and the guest are really enjoying themselves. Lai Xiaohua and the others were stunned. We haven't even started eating. How can you say that the host and the guest are enjoying themselves? What are we enjoying ourselves for? What do you mean? We've already received the gifts. Are you chasing us away? You can't do that, can you, Oldzwa? We've already taken this glass of wine twice and heard the joke twice. We haven't even drunk a sip. At this moment, Zhua Xiaoduo said, Dad, this villa is mine and Swollen's. I'm not the owner. What he meant was that he had only given it to him and not Swollen's. This was not fair. Lai Hua and the others really wanted to leave. You can't play like this. Is there an end to this? What we gave out is our family's property. Even if we go back and ask Boss Hong, he won't reimburse us stuff besides. Can't you split it? Zhou Changlu nodded reservedly. Can't you see that your brother Lai and the others are still considering? Your brother Lai and the others are all smart people. How can I not think of this? But I heard that Chung Long lacks a lot of cultivation resources. So a Xiaoduo kicked Li Chenglong under the table. Li Chenglong nodded hurriedly. Practicing martial arts is indeed not easy. My family is poor, and I have no money. I don't have anything. As a martial artist, I really can't support it. Ha! Swollen wiped his sweat. It was his first time doing this. He was not used to it. Sorry, did it turn out to be cultivation resources? The four of them breathed a sigh of relief. That was much easier. It was just a little bit of cultivation resources. I have a heart-quenching fruit here. It can increase one's cultivation by 100 years. I have 100 pieces of supreme-grade Astral Souls Jade. I have 100 pieces too. I have 100 pieces here. Okay, everyone has 100 pieces. In addition to the heart-quenching fruit, I'll give you 100 pieces too. In an instant, the four of them became rich and overbearing. Swollen's hands were trembling, and his face was sweating. Oh my God, a heart-quenching fruit for 100 years of cultivation. 400 pieces of supreme-grade spiritual jade. Oh my God, did he just give me a few hundred billion? I'm not dreaming, am I? If this is a dream, let me wake up later. I thought Swollen was so excited that he thought he was dreaming until he got his hands on the fruit. After this small episode, the banquet finally returned to normal. Zhou Changlu sat upright and accompanied the host. He talked and laughed, making everyone feel as if they were bathed in a spring breeze. He spoke from time to time, and everyone was laughing that everyone toasted and drank together. However, after drinking with everyone, he did not drink with Yu Xiaoyu. Then, he started the second round with raging fire. Come, let's drink again. Yu Xiaoyu held the wine cup with both hands and was about to toast when she froze in midair. No one is paying attention to me. After thinking for a while, she looked at Wu Yuting with a conflicted expression. I'm one of them. I can't let others see me as a joke. Wu Yuting's expression did not change. She did not look at her. She just drank with Yin Xiaohu and by Xiaoduo, ignoring Yu Xiaoyu. The difference in treatment was obvious. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.